Hello, mate. How are you?
Well, I didn't think you were going to just start that quickly. I was not prepared. Um, yeah,
Mate,
what
have
would you
you
say? What
not seen our intro at all? It comes up every week, and
I was
you are not,
watching the intro, and then you were like, "You're right," and I was like, "Oh my god, we started. We're
mate.
back on another stream,
The
another
intro
stream."
is the best thing ever. The fact that we were having a chat trying to work this out, and then suddenly you went, "Oh yeah, by the way, you can hear us on the stream." Just over the stream, it started me going, "Oh, which one do I want to press? This one first? That one? Oh my god."
They're not going to think we're professionals. They know we're
Oh
frauds.
no, that's so bad, isn't it? Well, you're the streaming expert now. Look
Oh,
at you
I don't
doing
know.
3 hour streams all by
I don't know
yourself.
about that. Don't know about that. Don't know about that.
Just before we came on, as Reece was basically panicking about the video, he asked me what the plan is tonight because I haven't even told him what we're going to chat about. So, Reece, we are talking about contract renewals and new players, which is more important for Arsenal this summer. Okay. So essentially, we know Gabriel has signed a new contract, which is like a fantastic thing. Let's be honest. It is what the club needed. We cannot lose him. There were the rumours last year of him going to Saudi. I think he is a linchpin in our side now. Arguably, maybe the most natural captain as well. If you're kind of looking at old school captains, you could argue Declan Rice is probably up there for that kind of vocal leadership. But yeah, essentially, I think maybe we go through the contracts. We have a look whose contracts are expiring. Then we think about, what are the real necessities for Arsenal in contract renewals and why it's important, and then look at why we need to buy certain players. And I mean, we could mention players' names if you want, but I think maybe if we're just kind of going through general profiles and what do we need to win next year? And I mean, let's start off this year. Is the biggest reason that we haven't won the Premier League or got close? Is it because of the injuries, or is it because of the quality of the starting 11? Which one kind of weighs up the most?
I think it is more down to the injuries. I mean, I said this earlier, and I said I think that we have to take some responsibility for the injuries that we've had.
Yeah,
I don't think it's just all universe has made it happen. Like, I do think we didn't really put ourselves in a position where we were set up for this year. And even though we weren't as bad as we probably thought we were going to be, and we have been very unlucky, um, I think the injuries have just been a massive thing. I think our first team squad overall is okay. I think it can be improved on,
yep.
especially in forward areas. But I think it's a lot closer to a Liverpool, to a City, to these teams, which we are better than or as good as. It's just the squad I think needs to be padded out a bit, and we need a little bit something different sometimes. I think.
Yeah, it's a horrible one, isn't it? Because we would be so much closer without the injuries, without any suspensions. Let's not go into some of those red cards. I don't know. It's like a flip of a coin, really. For me, I think, which maybe is like sitting on the fence, you might say. Evening, just Tom. It's I don't know. I feel that we do need more quality. The Declan Rice in the left eight, I think he is a world class player, box to box, or as a six. But we need the ability to kind of play him in the six in certain times or play him in the eight in certain times. And for me, that's one of the things, like our midfield, we're very restricted of what we can do. I think Marino coming into that left eight role hasn't worked fantastically this season. Ironically, he's had his best performances as a number 9. Thomas Partey is hit and miss. For every good thing he does, he has an absolute disaster and another thing. Odegaard wasn't flying. I mean, to be fair, Odegaard wasn't even walking at times. Wineri, not trusted as a 10. Fabio Vieira sent out on loan. It's been a really interesting year for the midfield. And I think maybe that, for me, that's something we overlook at times. Zubimendi coming in is going to be a big deal. And I think we have to kind of weigh that up and, essentially have a think about is him coming in, is that going to be as big as maybe keeping a Saliba or tying down Saka again? Let's go through the contracts. So I've got here for Capology. So these are all the contracts and them running down in order. So any names that stick out to you there that you think, I don't care, let's just get rid of them?
Give me a second because I am going to have to get the stream up so I can see them a bit better.
Oh, sorry, mate.
No, that's fine. Well, I mean, on all of them. No, I'm joking. Well, obviously, Tierney's now left. Jorginho's now gone. Sterling's gone. Neto's gone. Miles Lewis, Skelly, and Waneri will be signed on new deals. We would expect. I would assume so. Zinchenko, I think. Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, and Trossard are probably actually quite ironically the three most interesting players because I think we could. I mean, Tomiyasu won't be able to be sold this summer, unfortunately. He is just injured. He is injured until January. It's the same situation as a Jesus, who I think, if he was fit, would probably be sold. I think Zinchenko will be sold, or at least try to be sold. I feel like he's the number one candidate probably to go from our team right now. I think, especially with the fact that we tried to get rid of him in January. Dortmund were interested, as much as other teams were, and then it kind of fell through because we wanted to keep him because of injuries.
Yeah.
So I think Zinchenko has to go. I don't know how many suitors are going to be for him because he is very specific tactically. I mean, maybe if he plays in a really weak league, he could be a really good midfielder, I think. But I don't know if like 20 mil or something like that, 20 to 25 mil should be what we get for him. I think when it comes to Trossard, though, I think we all agree that Tomiyasu has to stay because we don't have an option. Zinchenko has to kind of go, like pretty much now. And I think Trossard's one of the players that everyone's kind of like umming and ahhing about. And I'm actually pretty much in the camp where if a left winger comes in, such as a Rodrigo, for instance, or even a Williams, I think he has to go. He can play up front and he can, well, that is it really. He kind of can play in midfield, but we're not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And like I'd rather have Martinelli up front. I've always been pretty assured in that, and I still think he's a better option in a lot of ways, especially because he's just quicker. And I think that's one of the problems Trossard has essentially, especially running in behind. Um, I like Trossard because he's like a shooter. He shoots a lot, like compared to a lot of players in our team. But if we get someone equally who does that, like a Semenyo or even a Rodrigo or even like a Gittins, like they shoot a lot as well. And they're a lot younger and can develop into players that have a little bit more about them. I think Trossard's a very good player, but even last season where he was pretty good for the last couple of months, like January to April-ish, like I would say he was actually very good, one of our best players. I still think there's a problem there. Like, I still think that his performances are getting worse over time. I don't think he's good enough to start for the club. And I think he is a good super sub, but I'd still rather Martinelli. So in my eyes, Trossard should at least attempted to be sold. And if that means give him an extra year so we can sell him for more, then yeah, I think that should be done.
Like, ignoring wages, out of a fit Jesus and a fit Trossard, for you, which one would you keep in the squad?
I would definitely probably keep a Jesus. Like, he is younger. I still think Jesus is a really good player. It's just that injuries have like crippled him. But even like before, even when he came back for that couple of weeks before he tore his ACL in January, he was actually so good for us. And I just still think there's a level there. I get that there's probably more of an argument that it's harder for him to get into the team with a Havertz up front and obviously a Sheshko if he comes in. So that's obviously like two strikers that you would probably put over him right now. But he does offer different things to them. And I feel like Trossard, a lot of the wingers that we're linked to are even better versions of Martinelli or better versions of Trossard. And I just don't think Trossard, with his age, is really viable.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's a real interesting one because I think if you are renewing Trossard's contract, for me that signals the end of Martinelli. But how long can you really keep Trossard going? And he is declining. And on the flip side, he was our most used attacker this season. He is able to work in several different positions to a relatively good standard. And he is a clutch player, I guess you'd say, or someone that you can bring on and you would expect him to have some kind of moment or, final action. I just don't think it's enough. I think you keep Martinelli around. You mentioned pace. Certain game states when the game is a little bit more stretch, Martinelli's perfect, and we don't have many players in transition that can do what he does, if any. I feel that Martinelli should be moved as, our second in command, I guess you call it, as our left winger. In an ideal world, I'd probably get rid of Jesus and Trossard, but there's no possible way we can get rid of Jesus. We've kind of found ourselves in a really awkward position, and it's the same with Tomiyasu. We can't shift him on. He's constantly injured. Zinchenko is going to be difficult to shift on because, as you alluded to, he's such a specific player. And in an Arteta system or a Pep system, he can come in, but like teams are kind of moving away from that and they're moving towards a more transitional, more physical game. I think the Premier League now is meant to be the most have basically the biggest transitions and the biggest counter-attacking styles. It's just so difficult. It's just so difficult. Looking at we've got Ethan and Miles. Do you think the club will try to give him like a similar pay? Are they going to try to equal it out and say, all right, you're both young lads, both future of the club, or is Miles being used more and having more experience? Is that going to help him to get a higher wage? Like, how do you think the club are going to play it? It's a bit of an awkward situation when you got two guys who are going to get essentially their first professional contracts.
I think they'll be given around about the same contract. Like, I think actually if it was on the other foot, so if Winery was like the guy that was starting every week and Miles was the one on the bench, it wouldn't have been that case because of the hype that Ethan has around him and the amount of how high they have him in the regard of like the club. And I know Miles obviously they do as well, but we haven't really. I get it's because Miles is more of a defensive player despite being a midfielder. But we never really heard much chat about Miles in the academy until last year. But Ethan's been known for years, he made his debut at 15. So I think when it comes to that sort of things, they have to be given around the same contracts. You don't really want to make them unhappy. And I do think within the next, I think it's quite funny because I think Miles is playing more right now than Ethan. But I think in a year's time, Ethan will play a lot more than Miles. So it's one of them situations.
Ethan will play more than Miles.
Yeah, I think that because I just think Miles should be the future left centre mid behind Rice. And I always think Rice is going to be there for now, at least for the next couple of years as a starter.
Yeah.
And I think with Ethan, the gaps in attack and midfield, if we don't sign one this year, are going to be there a lot more than Miles like pushing into them positions.
That's really interesting. Like, especially with Max Dowman. I mean, I don't want to go into him too much. He's a very young player, and he's not going to be, part of the squad. But say in another 3 years' time, it'd be really interesting how that midfield develops and how the three of them have developed, and as a collective. I wonder if anyone will drop off, and we'll see them have the problems that young players do. Young players don't kind of progress linearly. There's always peaks and troughs, and it's one of those ones I'd love to do the FM sim, just go forwards, see what happens. It's such an interesting thing. They're all so different, so talented, and it could be essentially it could be I don't know what the best way of putting it is, like pivotal to all of our transfers, all of the makeup of our midfield, the makeup of the rest of our team in future years, because they're able to pick up so many different positions. They're able to carry the ball. They're able to shoot. They're all just so talented, so talented. It's going to be mad. So let's go for it. I mean, you obviously want Thomas Partey contract renewed, so we'll just skip over that quickly.
There's gonna be so many hate comments about me again.
Yeah, everyone playing at home, that's your bingo. Okay, that we've mentioned Thomas Partey and Reece's love for him. So I think we're going to have to renew it. The Barcelona talk, I just feel like that's contract getting driven up by agents. I think that's.
I feel like there's definitely like a way that he could have gone to Barca, but it just seems like the club is so adamant on keeping him. Like it does seem like they have really put their foot down
Mm,
to keep Thomas Partey, which is so strange in so many ways. It's even stranger to think like, why would you, if you wanted to re-sign a guy to a contract that badly, why would you wait until his contract is basically over to do it? Like, I don't know. There's just so many weird ways why this has worked. I still think Arsenal shouldn't re-sign him. I still think there's just better options out there at this point. Like even getting a Kamara for cheap from Villa would have just been like fine with their money
yeah,
issues. Um, but it is what it is. Party is going to have to stay. Like, if it's a year deal with an extension of a year, then it is whatever. Like, I expect him to basically just teach Miles and teach other players to get into that position. But we have now not many legs in that midfield. Like, Party is
we
not
really
really.
don't.
Party's probably the most active player in those sort of defensive areas, with Rice not being a bit further up. And he is just a bit clumsy, and he isn't necessarily great at closing down gaps some of the times when he makes mistakes. So
I guess like in rotation, he won't be too bad. He's going to play against lesser teams now, which I would presume anyway. I presume they'd
well,
play
oh.
Superman. But then maybe at Big Six games, I say that we've seen it play out with Party and Rice, and it's actually, to be fair, it has worked really well in those matches. So I don't know. I just
It's
felt like
interesting.
this was the opportunity in January. Now, loads of people going on about the forward and stuff, and I do agree. This Thomas Party situation could have kind of been sorted out because we knew both Jorginho and Party were nearing the end of their contracts. It's such a good opportunity to get like one player through the door. Maybe like, a younger player that's able to come on, in 2 or 3 years' time and maybe come into the first team properly. And then in the summer, go get Zubimendi as your number one starting six. I just like, we've just left too much work to do. It's the same with the goalkeeper situation, You've got no number two. It's like, you could have done that at any point. And the uh, the what do you want to call it? I don't know, the bumbling last year of not getting Garcia, and it looks like we probably won't get him now. It's not the biggest concern, but I do feel like sometimes we're not future proofing ourselves enough. It's almost like the club are like, we've got an idea, but we'll wait to the last minute. Just be a bit more proactive sometimes. Have you seen the?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
I think the club are trying to be more proactive. Obviously, there's links to Tongossi from
Mhm.
who used to be the head of recruitment at Juventus and then left them to become the sporting director at Granada, and then that didn't go very well. So, so he didn't have a job, but okay. And then he was going to go back to Juve, but it hasn't worked out with their new ownership. But like he's coming in, he's going to do a lot of that sort of work on at least youngsters, at least future proofing the squad, so we can get some good youngsters in many ways.
Mhm.
I think the party situation, I think what it shows is that Arsenal are willing to spend probably money on a like a crusher, like a big guy in defensive midfield. Because we were
Yeah.
talking about this earlier about how we kind of need that and we don't have that. And I think the idea is that probably in the future, because DMs are not exactly like hard to come by. There is always a good DM. Like every year, there's a couple that come through where you never even heard of them the year before. Because I mean, it's not that like exactly like the most hardest position in the world. Depends how you play. Um, and I do think that like there is a few. I don't think Balaba's going to leave Brighton this year. I just
No.
think the price and the money that he would cost right now is just too much for teams to invest. And it's obviously like we've seen what Liverpool are doing, City are doing, we're doing, United are doing, Tottenham are doing. Like everyone's got like other things they have to focus on. So maybe there's a future if we keep Party for 1 to 2 years and then we go in for someone like Balaba, and maybe that's their plan for the future. I do think as well. Obviously, we talk about future proofing. They had all the links to
Yeah, yep.
Caritas, the Greek guy,
Was it
which is
40 million?
it
Is that
was
right?
yeah, it's like 35 million pounds or something like that. Which when you put it in that context, and you probably think, oh, up front it's only going to be like 20 mil. It's actually not that
Mm,
bad. But obviously, it's just like he is one of the best youngsters like coming through in the world. He's only had one season where he's really broke through at Genk this year, but he literally is a right centre mid slash right winger. Don't we have enough of them who are young?
It's funny, isn't it? How like you get managers and they've obviously got like a profile they really like, and there must be something in it where they're saying we can't miss this opportunity. So like you had Wenger, who was always buying like these players who are basically tens. Like, oh, I'll play him out on the right, like, and I'll get Cazorla, and I'll play him out on the left wing and he went through this stage of having like diminutive, very good on the ball players. You've got Arteta, who seems to love his, like just physical players, and he loves a player who's kind of like a 10 or a right winger, or someone who kind of in between. It's really funny. And then managers seem to then go through phases. So they'll have like a certain type of player. So again, if I go back to Wenger, he loved big midfielders. So he had like Gilberto, Petit, Vieira, these type of players. And then suddenly did away with all that. I'm going to move on to something else. But there's never... The best managers have a bit of a balance. They obviously have their preferences, but they have a bit of a balance. And I think that's what we're talking about, isn't it? Like just getting that right balance in the squad. I don't think us getting in a player in a DM position, a destroyer type, a big player, that's not going to be our number one way of playing. But sometimes you need to be able to change it up and be able to change system, or even just allow players a rest. And we're lacking legs, physicality, which is crazy to say because at one point it was looking like we were building a really physical midfield, especially with Declan Rice. But
I agree. I'm not overly worried too much because I just think we'll have so much control in games that it won't be too big of a deal. And I also do think people like Miles and Timber can help a lot. And even if Calafiori plays, if he's anywhere plays like times 2 at the amount he played last year, he'll be so helpful because he is just that overly aggressive player. But yeah, I agree. It's hard for Arsenal, I think, especially in this youth recruitment sort of like system, because like Tognazzi will come in and do a job, but we have a lot more restrictions than they do in the Serie A. And also, like for a club like Arsenal, I think now it's quite hard for us to buy youngsters that are really going to be developed right, because we're not a club that's brilliant at picking out loans anyway. We never have been, we never are. And it's also just hard because we are such a good level of football now. We are really high. We are at the pinnacle in many ways. That it's hard to get youngsters in and develop them properly. If you're a team like Brighton, it's what I always say, like Brighton get great youngsters in, but they also have like no threat and they can just take risks, and they make loads of signings where make no sense. Like they signed De Hood for no reason and he was gone in 6 months. And like I never rated De Hood. He was awful at Dortmund. He was awful at all the other teams he played. Like he was just like a fine midfielder. But by the time Brighton signed him, he was basically finished. Like he had injuries. He weren't even playing that much. And then they just got rid of him. And it's like Moda as well. Like they had him, he played, and he's at Feyenoord. Like they can just take these risks on these young players because it doesn't matter. And like that Greek striker they were linked to before for 30 mil, it's the same thing because he was linked to like Liverpool as well. And I'm like, it just makes no sense for Liverpool to risk that. Where for Brighton, it's like, well, we could get money. If we don't get money, we've made the money back on all our other sales anyway. So it's like, different things.
I think maybe that speaks volumes about our loan system, though, because I know it is a different situation. I completely understand that. However, I feel that we could be going in for some of these younger players, like we did with Martinelli. We tried with Marquinhos, and be able to, have a think about it. Martinelli, I don't think the plan was ever that he was going to come into the team, was it? He wasn't going to come into the squad. We were going to send him out on loan. And then over the preseason, they looked and went, oh, actually, he's a lot further along than we expected, or maybe he's developed very quickly. So we ended up bringing him into the first team squad. We need that option to be able to send players out on loan. And I mean, it's a wider conversation, but this kind of multi-club model, we don't have it. We don't have these options. We're not like a City or a Chelsea where we've got teams that we can kind of pinch a Savio off for a couple of mil, or we can buy 1 million youngsters and just send them all off over the world for development or for their visas.
And then in the end, just go and buy all City's youngsters anyway, like Chelsea did.
Yeah. good
But like
line.
I
Someone else's
do think
academy.
like as much as it is like a memeable thing about Arsenal like being in good terms with clubs, I think this is what we've been trying to do over the last years of like we're not gonna annoy Leipzig because we want to have that sort of connection there at least. Even if we do get Sesko at the end of the day, I'm sure that we've kept up like we've been pretty friendly with them. So then if we do want a shabby Simmons, they'll be more beneficial for someone like
Yeah,
us. That doesn't always mean the player's gonna want to come, but I think that's the way that we have to do things. We just need a club though in South America. We need to buy more from South America because everyone is now. Like back in the day, like you'd wait until these players came in, but now it's like, wow, it's been like this for like a decade nearly. But like 50 mil on like Brazilian players is the norm, and then they come
yeah,
in and like they're like that. I mean, Man City have done this consistently. They bought Jesus for like 20 mil, and he was pretty good for them, and then they replaced him with like Alvarez for 15 mil and someone for
yep.
75, and it's like there is these players out there. We just got to do it more. And the same with the championship. There is so much championship talent that we're just like not looking at. Like
Missed out.
Hayden Hackney is so good for Middlesbrough. Like someone needs to pick
Oh,
that
that's a
guy
good
up.
shout. That is a good
He's so
shout.
good.
I mean, again, it's something that we probably shouldn't focus on, but I'm a bit concerned that Edu has gone to Nottingham Forest, and then they've suddenly linked with three quite, quite coveted. I guess the word would be coveted youngsters in Brazil, and it does make me think. I wonder if there's been a point where he has been shut down. I'm not saying it's the biggest concern, and that's why he left the club. Sometimes where you're like, there's almost like no smoke without fire. I think,
Yeah. I
is there something
I do
behind that?
think it works both ways that like a little bit because I do think that like he should have done a better job at buying youngsters. There was youngsters that I mean, we gave him a couple of players. He bought Marquinhos, people like Pablo
Mm.
Mari. Like, I mean, some of the players he got in from Brazil were just not good enough. I mean, even like I
But
don't,
was
I
Murray more Arteta though? Because obviously he had the City links, didn't he?
kinda, but I
Yeah,
think Edu
faith
knew
in
his
this.
agent or something, some
Ah,
Brazilian agent thing. But like, I mean, Nottingham Forest are linked to them three players. They're all from Botafogo. I only really know Igor Jesus because I scouted him because Arsenal were linked to him when Edu was here. So it
I
must
don't
have been
know
one of
on
Ed.
FM, so funny enough. So
But he is like not that good, I don't think. So because when I scouted him, I was just like, he just kind of reminds me like a Eddie Nketiah, and I was like, I don't know.
mm,
You went, but I was just like, I don't know. It's just weird that I guess that Forest just give him that complete control. I actually think like now Bert has come in that I think Eddie may have ran his course at the club a little bit. Like I think it was
yeah,
probably best he left.
yeah. I'm not saying it wasn't, but I did find it interesting, and I'm hoping that it's definitely an area we can improve on. Like I'm not bashing it or Arsenal have done a very good job. Look at us. We've been second 3 years in a row. Yes, it's not a Premier League title, but consistently at the top of the league. We are battling away there. We've done very well in the Champions League this season as well. So like recruitment has been very good. And looking at why we were knocked out of the Champions League is because we played the current best team in Europe. That we are up there. So there's in no small part to the work Edu did with Arteta, but there are still areas we can improve on. I think just loans. Sometimes I look loans, being able to get in players quickly, and this whole Sesko thing. I feel that we could have probably got this done over the line a while back, and then there'd be less pressure on him, and it would have been a slightly less expensive deal. I just feel like sometimes that there is room for improvement, and I'm hoping Berta can
Yeah.
start getting these parts done, and we can.
I think when it drags on too much, it's a problem. Like the Marino one last summer was like
Yeah,
we're fighting over 5 million. But if we do get Sesko for like 10 mil cheaper and he comes in before preseason, I'm not too bothered. I
Mhm.
get the point of like it's a concern, and I've had this concern over the last couple of weeks of like we need to be quick because teams are not messing around, especially with the Club World Cup involved. Teams are getting their jobs done. We can't think, oh, do we want to buy an Eze in 4 weeks' time because he'll already be gone to Tottenham or gone
yeah,
to
yeah,
Bayern. So it's like we kind of need to sort this stuff out, especially with the winger situation. But it does seem like we want Rodrigo, and we're kind of waiting on his decision. I think like the biggest problem with like our whole club at the moment is the loans. I think is awful, and I think the transition from getting a lot of our academy players, money for them is just awful. Like all of them are like Nathan Butler on a G Day was here for until he was 22, and then he's just gone on a free. Like, what is
Yeah.
the point? Like, we need to like Man City and Liverpool are selling youngsters who never played for them for 15, 20 mil, and we are not even able to get any money for anyone. Like, we need to do a better job at developing youngsters, not just for us, but for other clubs. And we don't do that. We just develop for us. And if you don't fit for us, you're gone. And I just think it's poor.
Yeah, and it's like they shrewd bits of business. Like obviously, we're talking about Nottingham Forest. That I would presume that those buys are not with a view to them being, superstars. It's just a case of, well, they might be able to flesh out the squad at some point, and if not, we can probably move them on for financial profit. And it's just good business. It's just clever
Yeah,
business, and we need to
you
do
do it on
more of it.
FM. When you play
Yeah,
FM, you buy like kids for like 3 mil because you're like, well, even if he's awful, like I'm gonna be able to make a profit for £3 million. So you just buy anyone, and oh yeah, 3 mil, you sold for 8 mil. Wow, but you make a little bit of profit, and then that adds up, and then eventually you get like talents that come out of nowhere, and that's
yeah.
how City is so sustainable with what they do. It's just they do that all the time.
So I do think we've kind of moved into in the goalkeeper market. It seems like Arsenal have targeted that market and thought to themselves like, not many people are going in for these players. You can get them very cheap, so hopefully we can, have you
It is
and
it's so true. I said this the other day to my friends. I said that if you're buying a goalkeeper for over 30 mil, I'm sorry, that's a scam. I think the level of goalkeepers in football nowadays, I don't think like it's that comparable. I know everyone goes goalie's the most important position, and it is, but I don't think a 40 mil goalie compared to a 20 mil keeper is that different if you
yeah,
play
I
a
know what you
certain
mean.
way. If the keeper does the things that you want it to be, if he's good if he's confident, if he's good at catching the ball, or he's like a good distributor, that's fine. I think you can get, but now every goalkeeper, every modern keeper is becoming a distributor, is becoming confident.
Oh,
I mean, no,
I've got
not
a
all of
question
them,
for you then.
but so I think
Was
you're
Allison
definitely.
worth the money then?
Well, this is the thing. With someone like Allison, that is one of them rare occasions. At the time, the goalkeeper market was considerably weaker,
Hmm.
and they bought him with the notion that he is going to be our like number one for a long time, given his age. And it has worked out. So, kind of in hindsight, you could say that is fair enough. And they were kind of pushed into that because that happened. Well, that happened 2 weeks before Kepper, because I've been watching a podcast about it. So that happened a couple of weeks before Kepper, and then Kepper broke the record fee, obviously a few weeks later because of his release clause. But I remember at the time thinking like keepers are just not worth
That
that
was
much. Like,
oh
I mean, Mike Mannion has not had the best season. He's kind of injury prone. He's not necessarily the most confident player. But I was doing shorts about this guy being the best keeper in the world 2 years ago. And now Chelsea don't want to pay like 20, 15 mil. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think they should. He's on way too much money
yep.
and he's not consistent. Like, I think that's kind of where I'm at with keepers. Like young keepers, I think the base value for keepers is about 30 mil. And I think for 30 mil, you can get a lot of good goalies.
Yeah,
Like,
you really can. Look at the
Jao
business
Garcia's going
we've
for that
done.
price.
The
Yeah.
our two last goalkeepers, like that's very good. That I think that's fair business. It really is. It's so interesting. I think. I mean, it's funny as well because we're talking about number two, and I'd love to get one Garcia in, but I'm not. I'm not panicking about it. It's one of those ones where I'm sure we can get another very good goalkeeper. I just look at him. The one thing with him, I'm like, like I'm sure he is going to be world class at some stage, and then I'll be like, we missed out on that. But right as of right now, it won't make a difference to our season next season. I don't think anyway, unless we have
No,
a
yeah, it
disaster with
won't.
Raya, missing the whole season or something. But
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I guess we must as well quickly mention about Kepa then with the links. I mean, we
oh
did.
mate,
We
for me, right. I had a text, Nick, if you're watching. I mean you. Okay, so a good friend of mine messaged and said, 5 mil for Kepa. He's got experience and stuff. I hate him. I hate Kepa. Okay, it's out there. I hate him. I can't stand it. Do you remember when he refused to come off the pitch? That for me
yeah,
right
iconic.
there.
That is iconic.
It's just everything I hate about football.
Kepa is such an Arsenal signing though. When I saw that he had a
He
5 mil
is,
release
yeah.
clause, because
Ex
I think
Chelsea.
it's so funny because he's like still technically at Chelsea now, so we
Mm.
have to get the quota done. I saw I think Clive said, or someone said it. and they said on their podcast that like, oh, I reckon Arsenal will consider that deal like when it came up 5 mil, and then literally since then all the rumors have come out, and I was like, they've literally manifested this idea, and it's
You're
so
blaming
funny
Clive
to
then.
me. It's so yeah, I mean, apparently it's so funny to me that we're linked to Kepa because I have consistently hated footballers that certain footballers and been really against them, and then they end up playing for Arsenal. I was so against David Luiz.
David Luiz, yes, yes.
I thought David Luiz was just an idiot, and then when he played for Arsenal, he actually he was a bit dumb, but he wasn't that bad. He was better than the players around him, I felt. And then you started to understand Jorginho when he played for Chelsea. I never really understood like what of a player he was. I didn't
Mhm.
really get it. I thought he's slow. And I remember when he was at third in the Ballon d'Or, I remember being like, imagine thinking Jorginho is the third best player in the world. And I just remember that whole thing. And then when he came to Arsenal, I loved Jorginho. I thought he was like he's not like perfect. He had flaws and they were clear. But, you know, when you use him right, he was a very suitable player. And I thought, oh, fair enough. Kepa is a player that I've hated because out of anything, you can talk about his pros and you can talk about his cons, but he is the most scared goalkeeper in the world. He is
Yes.
terrified. He's always been terrified. At Bilbao, I kind of see the same with Unai Simon as Bilbao now, but I'm a bit of a Unai Simon hater because I think Raya's better and should be Spain's number one. But Unai Simon is all right. But like, you know, I still just get the same notion that Kepa is terrified. He doesn't like coming out at all. And this season for Bournemouth, and I have actually watched him a lot of Bournemouth, it's just the same thing. I'm like, he is not a bad shot stopper if he's actually like focused and he's not bad at like certain things. He's just terrified and he
Yeah.
just makes poor decisions on
He
being
just doesn't
scared.
seem like an Arteta signing in terms of like, you know, like loving winning duels, like claiming crosses, that kind of commanding your box. Kepa's not that kind of player, if you know what I mean. And when I think of goalkeepers, like, I mean, here's me showing my age. I think of like a Schmeichel, or I think of a Seaman, like imposing people. Kepa is not that. Like, that is the last thing he is. I just imagine like a Haaland or like going back to like a Drogba type. They would look at him and think, "Oh, I'm going to eat you up in a corner." Like Gabriel and Saliba would be looking at him in training, going, "Oh, this is going to be lovely. I can't wait for set piece training." Jova, come on, set one up. Let's go.
I mean,
Like,
that's the same problem Tottenham and United have. Their goalkeepers are terrified to come off their line. Just move. Vicario. The reason why Tottenham can't defend corners is because you don't move and you've never moved. And it's been the same problem they've had for like the whole time he's been there. When Kaninsky was in goal, they were so much better at defending set pieces. And then when Vicario came out, they went back to being awful. It's the same with Onana at set pieces. He doesn't come off his
yeah,
line.
just stand
And
still.
and like Kepa does come off his line, but he's just so scared to make a decision that sometimes he gets so caught in his head that he'll come out too late and his timing's off. And he is more willing to come out than them keepers, but he's just scared. He's just so
Yeah.
scared to make a decision. And like when I think about it, like, is he better than Neto? I think he is. He is better the player than Neto, like fundamentally.
Mm.
And he is like a decent age. He's 30. Like, it's fine. He could be
Is he
back up for a
30?
while. Yeah, he's like the same age as Ryle. He's a year older. Which
How
I
is
know
he
when I
30?
saw
I feel like this
when,
is this like that Jesse Lingard meme, like he's only 20.
When
Is
I
he?
saw
No,
that the
he's
other
not.
day, I went, "There's no way he's 30." I thought he was like 34, but no, he's just literally 30 because he joined Chelsea at such a well, he joined them 7 years ago
That's
for
mad.
23. So I don't know, like I think as like a backup, it's fine. We just have to hope Raya doesn't get injured. But then we had to hope for that this season, and at least Kepa is a bit better than Neto. And if it is 5 mil and the wages are okay, if he wants 100K a week or 80K a week, that's fine. Um, and at least we can invest in other positions. But like, surely I would just rather us get a Lamed, who's like a young goalie in the Belgium league, who's like 22, who
Yeah.
at least I would have some sort of like future with. And it'd probably be like, he's not going to cost that much more, like 10 mil. The wage would be a lot
Mm.
cheaper. So
Well,
I don't know.
Kepa's on 75,000 a week. So
I think that's his loan though. I think Chelsea is still
they're
paying
subsidising it.
100K.
Ah,
So yeah, because I looked at the same thing and thought, oh, that's not bad. But apparently he's on 175K a week at at Chelsea, and they paid most of it, and he paid at Bournemouth. So I don't know, but surely there's a good enough backup keeper to get out there, like
there's
Lames,
got to be.
Bortes. Like, it's just go to all these like Serie A and Ligue 1 teams and
Yeah.
just get like anyone. Like, it just doesn't need to be like a big thing.
Yeah, and ironically, it's similar for that DM position. Like I would like it if we went out and this you mentioned Ligue 1, and there's a lot of players there in that DM position that you could go and get and just think, well, in another year's time, they can settle in and, again, going back to loan them out, loan them back to the club for a year, do
Well, yeah,
that.
that's what we want to
It's like,
do with that Greek guy, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Like League Un is just like such a good league to buy from because everyone is just in complete financial turmoil, so they have to sell players. And for some reason, I think France is probably the best country at bringing through like young talent,
Oh, yeah.
especially because they have a lot of like special laws in their country. It makes it quite easier for like especially African players to come over compared to a lot of other European countries. And the talent that they just produce over and over and over again is incredible. And even now, like Lille always have talent. You go to Lille, they've always got good players. You go to
Yep.
Monaco, they buy well. Nice, they buy well. I mean, like people going on about Cherky for 30 mil, but it's like, well, yeah, everyone known he's been 30 mil for the entire season because he have had no money and Lille need to sell. So it's not really that much of a surprise that like he's worth that. But it's like, we need to. We if Wenger was here, we would have bought all of them. But unfortunately, because we're not really French anymore, we're now Spanish. We are going to Spain, where Spain is good, but it's more expensive, and that's a
It
that's a
is.
problem.
It is. I feel that because, like, collectively, some of the teams are so bad in France that there are kind of these players that you can pick up and they might not have been noticed. Does that kind of make sense? Because they're just surrounded by just dreadful players or in dreadful systems. PSG are like so far ahead of everyone else. And you think to yourself, like, there are just some really good players that you could pick up cheap. And even if they don't work, you're able to move them on then and get a good fee. I love how this has turned into us basically talking about Arsenal's transfer, policy and what we would do. We need to change this title, really, don't we?
It's always going to be about transfer some way now. It's
Oh,
just how
mate,
it is.
that's just how we do it every week. Every week we do this. Okay, let's go back to Capology and have a look at other players. So, I mean, really, if we're looking at the players that will be expiring, so Thomas Partey needs renewal. I think I hate it, but that's what the club will be doing. So Thomas Partey, Guineri, and Lewis Skelly. So that's three. I would then say it's hard really because are you then looking at even Carl Hein 2026? Does he need a renewal?
It's just like why what is the point? Like what we've got so we're gonna get to a stage where we've got like 50 goalkeepers because we bought every 18-year-old
So
on the
does he need to
world.
be sold then this year? Like there's so
I
much. Do you know what I
mean,
mean? Otherwise, there's going to be another player that we're going to just lose and he'll leave for free.
I feel like with Hine, he's a sort of guy that you kind of re-sign to a contract, send him out on loan again, and if he, because I don't think he was actually that bad on loan in La
No, I think
Liga.
he was quite good.
He
I
was
think he's
just
right.
at the worst team in the league, and they came bottom. But like, and they got like
It's done
8
at
nil
Ramsdale.
yeah, they get like 8 nil every game. But I feel like if you put him at least a competent team,
Mm-hmm.
um, he'll be good. Like I think that he's a sort of guy that we could get 10 to 15 mil from if we give him a new contract. It's the kind of same with like I remember the Congo when he was at Luton and he was so good at Luton. He was really, really class for them. And he went to Seville and Seville are just not a very well run club. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like it's value of him. He's coming back, isn't he? Like they didn't even buy him, so he's just going to be back here. And it's like, well, why?
Yeah.
What? Why are you here? Like Tavares, at least we got a good loan for him because his Forest loan was awful. They bought 400 wing backs and he never played. And he went to Lazio and it's become their like one of their best players. So at least like they bought him for the 8 mil, so we made our money back. So that's like calm.
I still feel
Um,
like we could have got more. Like that might be
yeah,
asking for too much, but I just
given
felt
the
with it.
time,
Yeah.
we had that in the contract, and it's like, oh, please make our money back. But that's the sort of side when we signed Tavares, I was like, we signed him for 7 mil. And he ended up playing like 50 games of the club or whatever, 60 games. Dude, wasn't brilliant, of course. He made loads of mistakes, but he played a bit, and then we made our money back. It is what it is. It's not the worst signing we've ever made. Like,
Yeah.
and he's probably going to be great. He was great for Lazio. He's still rogue. He's still just
Oh,
crazy.
he's just a physical specimen now.
He's mental.
He's got like like some people just have something that you can't train, like whether it be like an extraordinary like high jump or just power, or I mean, he's so lucky if he could like rein in his brain, number one, and then also like hone some kind of nous on the ball. He's just so erratic at times, and I think, oh my god! But he is great to watch. Like he is great to watch.
He is mental. He is mental.
I mean, then moving on, then you're looking at players in with 2 years left. So Jesus, we can't renew Jesus. We just can't.
Is Jesus got? So he's got 2 years left.
Well, I mean, it's here saying 3,
yeah.
but yeah.
I think he's got 2 years and then maybe an option.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that would make sense. Because I thought he had a year left. Oh, that means we're going to be stuck with him.
Yeah, well, to be fair, it's probably good because there's no way we're selling him in January. So summer 2026.
Maybe if well, obviously Palomares don't want him anymore because they signed Victor Roque and he is kind of like a legend there. But there is an area now. Brazilian clubs are getting more money because they are selling talents at just incredible rates. There is a way that maybe a Brazilian club would be interested in picking up in January. He's like one of them unique players that actually could go there because he obviously that is his home country. I don't think anyone else would sell in January.
Oh God! Imagine having him for another 2 years.
But then even then, like I think we'll get rid of him, even if it's for a cheaper deal for the wages' sake. And I think that I still think he's good enough where next summer, as much as he has been injured, it's an ACL injury. It's not like he just had that knee injury over and over again, which he had before. But it's an ACL that kind of just happens. Surely someone would be invested in him. He's a good striker. The striker market is awful. Like people are spending 90 mil on like. Yeah, like I'd take him still over a lot of players in the market if I'm certain clubs. So I think
they'd be a really good addition to people's squads. Like versatile player, really experienced now. Like he seems like a genuinely good worker. Like he'd be a good person to have around your club. I think you make some money on him. Like he shouldn't be leaving for free, but nevertheless, we won't be renewing it, will we? And then comes the big guns. So you got Bukayo Saka, William Saliba, Gabriel, who's now renewed. So we'll kind of count him in this.
Woo.
And then and then Martinelli. Like, do we need to look at? It's mad to say. Do we have to renew one of Trossard or Martinelli? Because they've only got 1 or 2 years left.
I think we have to renew Martinelli. I just think he has to be given a new contract. I think it doesn't need to be a pay increase, maybe 20k to get it to 200. But
I feel like it has to be the same. I think by the time you go to 200,
because the thing is with Martinelli, like that's the sort of player where I've never really been worried about. He's spoken about how much he loves the club. We bought him from the 3rd tier in Brazil when he was a child and brought him over and have given him this career. And he's always been very respectful of us. So even when it's been tough, he's always been working hard and trying his best. So I feel like he's a player that only will leave if he's forced to leave.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's probably why they haven't re-signed into a contract right now, because they're probably deciding what they want to do, but also they're probably thinking it's not that deep. He will just re-sign when he wants to. I mean, Gabriel Martinelli up in Barcelona will be interesting. I need to shut my window because it's raining.
I was going to say, what just happened? And off he goes. While Reece is closing his window, I'm just going to come to you, Tom, because I know you've been putting comments. I genuinely really appreciate your support, mate. Prediction for next year's summer, Chelsea signing Lavia or Mudryk. If it was a question of who I'd prefer, I think it's pretty obvious I want Lavia.
He's never fit, though. He's been injured for 2 seasons.
Don't. What a Mudryk is, he's been suspended. And
well, he's got doping. That's different. It's doping. I don't know what's going to happen with Mudryk. I don't really know what the situation. I don't really know the ins and outs of that situation. But like, is he going to be allowed to play?
In hindsight, that is a horrendous signing now.
I think I feel like all the issues he's had at Chelsea wouldn't have happened at Arsenal. I feel like he might have had issues in tactics, but I don't think like.
Oh, what about the doping? Would that have happened here?
I don't think it would. I can't. I don't know what would. I don't know why it was happened or whatever, but I just can't see like it kind of happening at our club compared. Right, Chelsea have so many good talents. Like, I still like Madueke. There's been rumours that Madueke might go
Yeah,
to Madueke might go to Newcastle. If they give Madueke to Newcastle, they are throwing. That is their best winger. That is their best winger. Like, what are they doing? Also, their goalie, by the way, Petrovic.
hmm
He's like they completely want to get rid of him, and he was the best goalkeeper in Ligue 1 last season, in head of Chevrolet, who was like seen as like
hmm
the best up and coming keeper. You got Donnarumma, who is like good on his day, and all these other keepers. There's so many great ones in Ligue 1, and he was like the best keeper in the league, in my opinion. And they just want to get rid of him, and they want to buy Mike Mannion. Like, why? Just keep Petrovic. I'd take Petrovic. He's brilliant. He's such a good keeper. So, I was
It's,
like, what are they doing?
it's so bizarre. I don't know if you've seen. Have you seen the video where the new ownership are talking about their strategy and essentially just stockpiling players, almost like I don't know. It is very American business like. They just buy lots of players and then just sell them on, make any money. Doesn't matter. 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. Just keep on rolling it over. Keep on rolling it over. It's fine. And it's just so, I don't know, so anti-football to a certain extent that I just can't get my head around their strategy and how it's working. And the PSR reports as well, like they look fine, which is
It's
baffling
because
to me.
it's
It's
because
like,
they sold like their women's team, they sold their
yeah,
like
well, yeah,
training facilities, like
hotels,
they
whatever it
got
may
nothing
be.
left. It's just gonna be the state. They don't even know the stadium soon. It's gonna be like, oh, they've got 50 players, but nothing. We haven't got a pitch. We can't. We get rid of the guy that makes the pitch for us. I was like, oh wow, like they just got nothing left. I don't know. They're a weird team, Chelsea. It's just annoying. The thing that annoys me the most is they actually buy some good players and then they don't play them players. And then they buy more players and then they give them 7-year contracts. And then if they play well for a season, they give them another contract. I thought that was the
Yeah,
whole point of giving them a 7-year contract, was not to give them another one. They've done it with Caicedo and Palmer now. It's like, I get they're your best players, but I'd be like, well, sorry, mate, you signed a 7-year deal.
yeah, yeah.
Tough luck. Like,
Enjoy it.
yeah. Like, I don't know. It's so weird. Such a weird.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. And as for your other question, Tom, about Big Abby's new wage, it's in the region between 150 to 200k. It's not been confirmed yet, so we'll go round the middle, 175. That's what he's getting.
That's crazy for like what is arguably a top 5 centre back in the world in his prime. Like, to be paid that.
Yeah.
That's like, he should be on
Well, when
more.
when you
Realistically.
look at like our wage bill, let's go back to it. I mean, look at our top earners. So per week, you've got Kai and oh god, Kai Havertz and Jesus are two top earners, which is bonkers. Like I don't mind Kai. I'm not a Kai hater. I know you're more fun than I am, but I'm not a
Love
Kai
Kai.
hater. I just look and think, like really, I could understand maybe like a one, like probably like a 180, 190. Because let's be honest, these two guys are going to be going up. I would understand like around maybe that 200-ish mark. Um, but those two being our top earners is baffling. Then you're going to have Odegaard, Rice, Party getting more than Gabriel. Like Bukayo Saka on his current wage, and we know it's going to be boosted, is already on higher than him. I just thought, yeah, I think that will be.
It's just the transfers, isn't it, though? Like, if you sign players from Prem teams, there's going to be a Prem tax. And if you
Yeah.
sign, we had to get Party in from that release clause and do that. And with Gabriel, we signed him for like cheap. He was on like 60 grand a week when he joined for
Oh,
20
so
mil.
good.
And then had to move it up. It's like Ethan probably, like, if Ethan becomes the best player in the world, he won't even be on like 300k a week until like half a decade, probably.
Look at his wage right now, 6
It,
grand.
it would take so long for him to get. I wonder what, like, but I know Yamal signed a contract like in the summer, I think, or like recently. But I
hmm
swear before that, his contract was like a youth contract still. And it's like, this guy
Yeah, it was.
probably
Yeah.
could arguably be the best player in the world. It's just like he's on like nothing. It's like,
Oh, it's like Max Dowman. I saw reports, people going, well, he doesn't get any money at the moment. But I'm like, yeah, he's a child. Like,
he's in
no, of course
school.
he doesn't.
He's
Like,
doing
it's
GCSEs.
mad. I saw as well. Did you see the thing with Jamie Carragher talking about Miles and Ethan and the fact that they're kept away from the squad, and that's Arteta wants to keep their feet on the ground. It's like, well, no, because of safeguarding rules, they're children. They can't
Yeah.
be in the dressing room. Like, and then they kept Ethan out, didn't they? Well, they didn't keep him out, but he kind of nominated himself and said, "I will stay out." So Miles has got someone. Like it it's so interesting how these narratives are spilled about the club, like, especially Arsenal.
Yeah.
We've always
Yeah,
got like this
so
weird.
loosely as well. So loosely. They don't even do any due diligence. It's like these people that speak on TV don't even have any sort of like integrity or even know
Mm,
what they're doing. It's maybe like they should go and study a little bit first before they have get these jobs, like everyone else has to, and work their way up. But you know,
just a
it's how
sly dig there. I
it,
love that.
it's how it is, isn't it? Like, oh, I played football, so you must know everything. So fair enough then.
Yeah. I mean, I say that, and my degree. To be fair, actually, I've got 2 degrees, and the first one was in sports and biochemistry. So, I mean, not
Yeah.
journalism. So it's kind
I
of
don't know
there
who
or
would do a
thereabouts.
journalism degree,
No, I
but
know. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? That would be awful. That's mad.
I love. But honestly, yeah, I think with the contracts, that is the big five that we were talking about. Was it like with the Martinelli, Saka, Saliba? Like Saliba's the biggest one there because I think there's actually questions that Saliba could leave. Um, and we talked about on my live stream earlier about people saying that like, well, if Arteta leaves, is Saliba going to go with him? Is Saliba bought into him more than the club? And I think there could be ways that could work. It really depends. But Saliba has to be re-signed realistically.
Yeah.
I think there's more of a chance now with the fact that Howson's gone to Real Madrid. Great guy, love Howson. And Kanate might go to Real Madrid. So, like that might help us a little bit. But I mean, Saliba's going to be wanting the most in the world for a defender. So, I mean, he probably deserves it as well. So,
Yeah.
it is what it is. We've got to sign them. But obviously, there was someone else on that 2026 list as well, 2027 list. I don't know if you picked up on it. And he was a grayed out because he was on loan this season.
Yes, I did.
I don't know if you've heard of him before, but he's a very interesting prospect.
Mm, go on, keep going.
So what do we do with Fabio Vieira? He's still here. He's chilling. Just went on loan to Porto. And kind of got played less than a 17-year-old, but we won't go into that. We won't get the fact he got moved out to the right because of a child or anything like that. He was insane. This Rodrigo
Yeah,
Mora
I
is
mean, yeah. To be fair,
incredible, but
yeah, he is.
still, um, yeah, it's so interesting because I think like we all know he's probably gonna go, but how much are we gonna get for him? Where's he gonna go? Like, is that even a viable?
I feel
Like,
it's going to be like 10 mil. Like, I genuinely do,
maybe.
which is. And it's one of those things, like you have certain people that just want to batter the club. They will look for any, and that's going to be one. You can see it now. People are going to go, that was a terrible signing. But the club have to speculate at some point. No one has like a foolproof plan when it comes to transfers and goes, every single one of my transfers comes off. I would say the big transfers we've had have come off like relatively well. Like the Kai Havertz one, people will argue because of the wages, and people will say, well, he was brought in as a like midfielder, and then he played up front, and then we're still looking for another player. But in the grand scheme of things, like 65 mil, he did have a very good, especially the end to that season. He has changed the way that we play. We now like play over the press a lot more. I think in the grand scheme of things, it's not a terrible signing. It's not a fantastic signing. It's it's a reasonable signing.
I will say that like he's definitely, I think, surprised a lot of people. I also
Yeah.
still,
No, he has for
I
me.
still think, even though he's not aesthetically very fun, I think Havertz is one of our best players. I don't know if he deserves the highest wage, but I feel like he's in our like, I feel like consistent performers. He is up there.
He's
Like,
in our
especially.
he's in our top 17 players, definitely. He's like it's just I don't know.
Because I
Yeah.
saw a tweet about like Gyökeres wanted 300k, and everyone was like, "Oh, you know that you got Jesus and Havertz on that money." And I'm like, Havertz is one of our better players. Like he has been for like the last 18 months. He's been really good, and Jesus is just injured all the time. Like, what can we do about that? That's not our fault. It's like what you said though. Like with signings, especially like the Vieira one, that came out of nowhere. My first
Mm.
ever video was about Vieira.
Was it?
And then I never made a video for like another year. So I was still at uni at the time. But yeah, like Vieira was one of them risk signings that we made, like Lukongo, which was a bit cheaper, like Tavares, they didn't really play out. But
Yeah.
we've been talking about Arsenal needing to future proof for the future. And that is like one of the ways they tried to do it. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. We moved into a way that didn't really suit him, and he's not really strong enough. But like, if we're going to sign this Greek guy, for instance, if he's like amazing, everyone will give credit to the club. But if he's
Yeah.
awful and doesn't work out, everyone will criticize. And it's like, I mean, some things don't work out. If we get 15 mil for Vieira, we've lost half the money. It's 15 mil loss is not the worst.
Yeah,
Right?
that's to be fair, that's a really good way of looking at it. Actually, if you're talking about it in that respect, that I mean, look at the amount spent on Anthony for Man United and the amount they will lose. They're so lucky that he has hit a purple patch at the moment. They're so lucky, but I still can't imagine he'll fetch that much because the clubs that will be looking will not be in the Premier League. They're not going to be money and cash rich clubs. So in the grand scheme of things, they will be losing a lot more. But I don't know. I just think, yeah, he's got to leave. I think ideally you'd sell him this summer. I just
Yeah.
don't know which suitors you're going to get. That's the only problem.
At least with him, like he is even though he has played on the right wing a lot for Porto, he is a 10, and 10s are definitely back in fashion.
Yeah.
Everyone's buying 10s again now, which is great. I do think that like yeah, I mean, we did buy Nicola Pepe as much as he was a lot better than Vieira. We spent 72 mil on him and he left on a free. So, like, but I always liked Pepe. I always felt
I
like he was
did.
just he's not an Arteta player, and it didn't work. It's funny because he would work now because he's such a good dribbler. I just felt he's kind of slow with his actions,
Ball
but
striking, like yeah.
he was good and he had big moments. But we did waste a lot of money on him that we just didn't need to waste. And that was unfortunately every time I see Arsenal lose about 15 mil on a player, I'm like, well, at least it's not 72 mil. So
Oh, G Thor's just put in a chat about the Runnison deal. Oh my god.
Ronison wasn't
Such a
even good. He wasn't even good. He played for some random team, I think, in League One. I can't even remember, but he was not even that good, and like he wasn't even that highly rated. He was just
it's such a
I
bizarre signing.
I knew him because he was like Iceland's number 2 for a bit, and then he became number 1 for a little bit, but he wasn't that good. And then when he signed, he played that game. It was against City in the cup, and he made that
Oh my
it went for his hands,
yep.
and then we never saw him again. We have signed so many keepers that are just not. Like, I remember Matty Ryan. I remember like
Yeah.
speaking to those Australians, and they were like, oh, "I love Matty Ryan." So why is Matty Ryan at Arsenal? What's going on?
Yeah, we have gone through like a really weird phase, almost like trying to find our own like little Ben Foster type, player.
Oh
And
god,
that kind of like what's the guy who's been at City for years that gets on really well with
Scott
Edison?
Carson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, and I understand the value in those type of players, but Alex Runnison was never going to be that, and he was never going to be like an up and coming keeper. It was just an odd signing. But again, in the grand scheme of things, the value, that's
it
the
costs
one
like
good thing.
it costs like what,
it's
2 mil, and we
peanuts.
sold him for like a
Yeah,
mil.
yeah.
So
When you're looking at like weekly wages for the club, like it's nothing. It's a drop in the ocean. It's mad, isn't it? So let's go through what we think we desperately need for the squad. So new signings. Let's start like right from the back. So a new number 2, is that inevitable? Do we have to get one in?
yeah, let's just get anyone. I was not too against time playing, but his distribution is pretty poor. There is
Mm,
genuinely young goalkeepers out there that you can buy for 10 to 15 mil across a lot of the European leagues that will be young, can distribute, and be fine.
yeah.
And I mean, Lames, I love Lames. He plays in Belgium. Like, we could just get him. And I don't think that will ask for too much 15, 20 mil, like, whatever. Like, it depends on obviously money in the other places. But if we're that strict and we can't spend 15 mil on a goalkeeper, backup is young, and we want to spend 5 mil on Kepa, then I mean, that is just very weird, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was just looking for I can't find it at the moment, like a value on Yevon Diouf. That's I think he's Senegalese, isn't he? The lad who had 14 saves at one point. Um, like, which would be about, but like it's players like that, just get someone in through the door. But I don't think it's.
Yeah,
Do you know who I
that's
mean?
weird you said him because I was literally watching him earlier because he played against Ireland and he did
Yeah,
this incredible save from like 3 yards out and then it went onto the bar and then the Ireland scored the rebound and I was like, "Oh, that's a shame."
like he's a player I look at, and I think he'd be just a shrewd signing. Wouldn't I don't think he'd cost much. Come in, he's not like the perfect Arteta player, but as a number two, I think he could serve a purpose. Um,
Honestly, you could go to League One and get about like I think that league might have the best goalkeepers or up and coming keepers.
mm,
There is so much young talent in the defensive and keeper areas in France. It is unbelievable. Like Chevrolet is like obviously way too good to what we're talking about being a
yeah,
backup, but that guy is like what going to be world class. And someone should get him.
yeah, I'm looking. Do you know what? I'm now trying to have a look through all of my list of goalkeepers. I don't want to. This isn't a scouting episode, but we need to do that at some point. We need to come together and go through our
Probably
scouting
there
players.
for like 9 hours.
Yeah, we'll do a
About players.
24-hour stream of just our list of
Oh,
defenders.
I found a young goalie in France that might be really good. His name is Matty Ryan. Don't know if you heard of him.
Oh
Plays for
my
Lyon.
god! I
It's
thought you were
getting
going to be
back.
serious for a second. Then I
Let's
was like,
get
oh,
back. Let's get
is it?
back.
Jesus. Yeah, let's move on from that one. So number two goalkeeper. So that's one. Do we have to get an overlapping left back? I know you mentioned it in your most recent stream. If you didn't know, Reece is now a streamer,
All-time
live
streamer.
all the time.
Yep.
Breaking news. Ange gets sacked. He's on before it because he knew it was happening. That's how good he is.
That's exactly a minute.
I agree with you. I think if we got a Rodrigo, we have to get an overlapping left back. Well, I said it previously anyway. I think you did. We probably should get one. Whether or not we will get one is a different matter. I don't think we will.
It's even that
just
or a midfielder for me, a left attacking midfielder that
mm,
can go out wide. But I feel like that's more expensive and harder. But then
yeah.
I don't know about harder. It might be easier. There's probably more options. I think about is there actually any left backs that we could get like that are going to be cheap and want to come? I don't
Could
know.
we
It's a
just, like we've been buying players and then they end up playing a different position. So Rice is a 6, he ends up in the 8, or like Havertz in the 8 ends up as a 9, or Marino is a 8 and he ends up as a 9. Maybe, okay, hot take. We get Gyökeres and we play him in the 8, and he becomes a box crashing 8 for us. And he loves putting out to those wide left channels anyway. So we just start to get, you know what, we're going to buy Victor Gyökeres for our 8, and he's just going to start making overlapping runs on the outside as a decoy.
do you know what I was thinking? I was thinking like something crazy like that.
Oh my
Maybe
god!
we
Do
maybe
you know
we
what?
just
I
buy.
would love to see that. I would
But
genuinely love to see that.
it might make more sense if we just bought an Antoine Semenyo and just went. I mean, that's not really the best example. We just bought like a Bradley Barcola and just went, "Ah, mate, you be our left back. Good luck. At least he can overlap." Because this is what I was thinking. I was thinking like, if you want a natural overlap in left back, they're all midfielders that have just been converted there. Because I don't think left backs just like grow up being like a wing back. Like I
Yeah.
think that's how it works. So like maybe you could get that. There is like some good like younger players that we could just get. Like there's that guy from Real Madrid who's like an overlapping left back. He's at 18. He only plays in the B team. He's really good in like the youth UEFA Youth League. I can't remember his name. But he's like someone we could just get. He's 18. Is he good enough to start? No. Do we need him to start? No. He could just come in sometimes and help us. I don't know.
mean,
Like
it's worth looking at, and it goes back to that future proofing, doesn't it? Like I think that's the thing. We always talk about getting solutions rather than just the problem. And I think in terms of transfers and the makeup of the squad, sometimes it is just that looking forward and getting in a player and thinking, what can we change him? Can we get him in a different position? It's funny, like you said about fullbacks. I always remember fullbacks were the centre backs who failed and they were moved out to fullbacks, and then it started changing. Then you had like the wide attackers that end up as fullbacks. I guess with the game changing and being much more offensive duty, I guess that was inevitable. But like, yeah, I think we can. There's something to be done there.
I mean,
Surely we
us
can pick someone up.
every team is doing it, and I don't necessarily think we have to abide by every team. But it is very interesting that Man City have gone and got Rayan out Nori, and Liverpool have got Kershkes and Frimpong. And it's like they are our two major competitors. I actually don't like out Nori, so I don't really care about that side at
Mm.
all. But and I don't even think he's that much of an overlapping player. But I think it's like I think I don't know. It's a hard market, but I believe Arsenal will look to try and buy someone in that market. I think that we will. If I believe like what I've heard, like what I just know what the club's like. I feel like we will try and get an overlapping one. I'm hoping that it is just someone. I mean, I don't even care who it is. Just someone that does a job at the end of the day. Kieran Tierney would have been all right, but I mean, maybe not anymore. His legs have gone a bit. It's just about
Josh
helping
Tom
other
says
players.
he knows a guy from Lazio. That'd be perfect.
Oh, well, yeah, wow. Well, but we just bring him back. No, sorry, you can't have him. Sorry, Lazio, we have him back. This is the thing, though. We didn't need an overlapping left back, so we got all rid of all our overlapping left backs, and now we need one again. Oh,
I
it's
know,
just
it's
so
like Kieran
annoying.
Tierney. Like, could we just have a young Kieran Tierney back? That would be lovely.
Yeah,
Like an
like a
injury
proper
free. Like,
crosser.
yeah.
Yeah, like we just. I'm sure we can. The thing is, I'm sure like that's one of them positions where there's like in Portugal, you go there, there's just loads of like children that are just insane at fullbacks at a young age. And I'm sure that we'll be able to find someone. I mean, the guy from Strasbourg is the guy that everyone's been talking about, but he
Yeah.
does play for Strasbourg. Like, what are the links there with Chelsea? Like Genoa, the guy Gutierrez. Like, what are the links there?
Yeah.
And they're not cheap either. Like Kershkare, 50, like what 40, 50 mil. Rayan out Nori for 35 mil is a lot of money considering he's like not even been that good for the last season. And
Yeah.
it's just like it's
Are
just the
Liverpool
price.
gonna? I mean, I know this is not a Liverpool pod, but we both comment slightly on wider than Arsenal. Are Liverpool gonna have enough balance in that fullback situation? I do wonder what it's going to be like because they have got two fullbacks now who want to get forward. Like Frimpong, like his position has more or less been a winger as of late. Like he has not really played that role. And for Alonso, like he's always played in a way that kind of negates the problems that Frimpong brings. I do wonder what it's going to be like. I'm
I
sure
think
they've got a plan, and it may be that they don't always go with both. They have like one or the other, and
Well,
I
I
don't know.
think, yeah, I think in games where they play against stronger oppositions, you're most likely going to see Bradley because Bradley does overlap, but he also is like a very aggressive defender. And he's definitely a
Mm,
better defender than Frimpong. I think with Kev, he's actually all right. I think he can play in a free. I think he's actually a pretty suitable defender and doesn't need to go forward. So I think, but I expect Soboslai to really like facilitate for Frimpong. I reckon he'll just play right back half in possession.
that'd be
I
interesting.
just sit there. That depends, obviously, if Verts does play on this left wing, which at the moment, given their signings, I assume he will.
Mate, that's a
Um,
good shout. Oh, that is a good. Sorry.
do you know though? Do you know? I swear, James Lawrence Alcott made a video, and he literally said the same thing, and I was like, this guy knows because
He's been
he said.
watching. He's watching FOKLZ. I
I didn't
tell
want
you
to read, but
that.
on the thumbnail, it's like Verts on the left wing, and I was like, everyone knows. So you said it, and then it's just become like worldwide.
Mate, the only thing that's ever happened to me that is slightly different. Okay, so genuinely, there was like like you have these weird like myths that you hear. Like you might be at school and you're like, oh, have you heard of this? So one that went around is basically at one point when I was like back at school and I shaved off my hair. And David Beckham, like a couple of days later, decided to shave off his hair. So it's like, okay, that's what it is. It's what it is. And then a bit later on, that I can remember I'd grown my hair. My hair was a lot blonder when I was younger. Beckham suddenly grows his hair and bleaches it blonde. And then I had a Mohican. Beck says Mohican. Like every haircut, it was so bizarre. It's an ongoing joke of like, yeah, he's watching. He knows. He's watching. I think James Lawrence Alcott's on the same train here. He's just waiting for us. He's been sat here all night. You watch next week. There's going to be a video of Gyökeres. Why Gyökeres should play as a left eight for Arsenal.
Why they should buy Semenyo for 70 million, put him in left back.
Left back.
They should actually put us in charge. I think the team would be much better.
Mate, it'd be a laugh. It'd be a laugh. Just could you imagine that? Just they Arsenal ring us up. They just go, all right, lads, we're gonna pay you to run the club for a year. You've only got a year, so just take the reins, go for it.
Do you know what I love as well? Like when you play Football Manager and you find like a wonder kid from like a country that there's no other good players from, you just buy some it's like Kushadov for Man City from because he's from
Yeah,
Uzbekistan. They've never had a Prem player, so every time I talk about him, there's so many people from that country that love him, and it's so cool. I get it all the time with Soboslai for Hungary, even though Hungary have got loads of good players. But I just buy loads of I don't know, random ass countries and go, oh yeah, this guy's from Gibraltar, get him in.
we just sack all scouts. Just use FM database. We're just
Yeah, I
straight
mean
on
the
there. Yeah, it's
FM
fine.
database, though they're making their own one, aren't they? For actual scouts, but
Yeah.
their is actually quite good.
So
Sometimes.
I'll tell you what, I've watched. So James B, like good friend of the channel. I love being able to say that. James has done these videos of talking about players and then using FM to kind of back up his reasoning, and I think that's such a cool concept. I'd love
It's
to
so
do that,
good.
but I feel like that's his niche.
Well,
He's taken that one.
you
He
need to
has
wait
taken
for
that
the
one.
new game because obviously the game didn't come out last year, so we're 2 years behind.
Yeah,
Like
that is true.
some of the stats on there are crazy. It's like Zuma Mendy's so bad, and
Yeah,
it's like, oh, bless him.
yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Like, yeah, let's do it. Let's take over. Just
We should do it. We
FM
should do a
one
duo
kids.
FM save to stream that every
I'm
day.
I'm I am up for that. Do you know? Actually,
I've been
it's so
considering.
funny because the last time I talked to James, we were trying to sort one out, and we were trying to sort it out with Alex from a different knock, and Alex said, "I just don't have enough time. You know, I'm busy on Sky Sports, so I'm busy. You know,
It's mainstream.
yeah. You know, I'm a wanted man. I'm pretty sure that's his words, verbatim. Yeah, that's a good shout. I'm up for that. I'm up for that. So,
I don't think you'll like how I play FM
oh, why? Are you
because
one of the guys that takes forever?
nah, I'm actually like the opposite, but I just
Oh,
do not
well, that's funny because I was going to say, because I am.
when me and my friends play, like we always start at like a save together in the same league, and I'm just the guy that if things aren't working, I'm out. I'm 3 months in, I keep leaving. And me and my friends did it, and I was in like League One, and they were in the Portuguese league, like at Sporting in Porto. I just like kept going down, and then I won the World Cup with Nigeria, and I got the Leipzig job, and then won the league, and then they hated me because they were still at the same club. I'm just
Oh,
erratic.
see, I've always like tried a. I remember doing a really good save, and we did Udinese and Palermo, and that was like that's like a fond memory of mine. And it was while they were in Serie B, and trying to bring them up to Serie A. Oh, it was good. Those
Yeah,
were the
it's so
days.
weird you say that because like last night, this is so I've talked about. I was like, I literally spent an hour and a half analyzing Udinese's 2011 team. Um, I was just so upset because it's
Why?
such a fun team. It had Sanchez, it had Handanovic, it had like Inla.
What
So I was like,
made you
oh,
do that though? What made you
I
go
I can't.
2011 Udinese? I need to know everything
I
about
think
it.
I saw something about Sanchez or something, and I was just like, "Oh, he'll never get the credit he deserves because of like the United thing."
Mm,
And then I went through all of the stuff at Udinese. I was like, "Oh, this team was so good." I was like, "What?" They all left within like 2 seasons.
yeah,
And I was like, "Oh, it's so
decimated.
fun." They were third in the league because then it was so funny because they came fourth and they got in the playoff qualifier for the Champions League. And I was like, "Who did they play?" I recognized that they played us and lost. I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, that's how I remember that."
yeah, mad. Yeah, that was a team. Do you know what? I would love Sanchez in this team. I'd love him on that left wing
Do you know,
spot.
at the age of like 19, he played like 64 games in a season. And then the year after, he played like 58 in like when he was a child. I mean, that's
Yeah,
like Pedri stats. No wonder he was dead at 28.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. Here's an interesting thought. I love how we go off topic on this, but it's perfect because we do round anyone who hasn't seen the pod before. We do kind of come back round to the points eventually. Um, I think it was Scott Willis put something out talking about Raheem Sterling and Leroy Sané, and talking rather about age, amount of minutes and legs. Like, what are your thoughts? I really wanted to ask you this. I'm glad I've remembered. What are your thoughts of looking at and comparing players just by the minutes in their legs rather than the age that they are?
Yeah, I think I'm sort of like a context over everything guy, and I think every single situation is different.
Mm.
I think it has to be like there is so many like data you could find from it, but I'm sure that like realistically it comes down to like the intent and the intensity that these guys are playing at. Like I think right now the how high the intensity of the Prem is. If you play like 50 games every season for the first like when you're like 18, 19, 20, 21, you're probably going to be like knackered permanently. I do think there's a certain aspect of like easing people in, but people don't really get that as much anymore. I mean, people never did get it. I mean, like Michael Owen was like finished by
Yeah,
like
done.
yeah, like done by like half his career. As even Rudy, like Rudy at 29 was just like it. I remember watching that and being like, he just can't do anything anymore. He can pass the ball, but that is it. I think that like yeah, I think it could be like a coalition, but I think it depends with certain players. But I do think
Mm.
if players play like it depends because like Ronaldo, I know he's not playing at the highest level, but he's played like thousands and thousands of games, and he's like, I don't know, still walking. He's never really been injured, and he's always like kept himself at proper condition. So maybe it is just sometimes some people's bodies just don't work
Yeah.
as well. Maybe
It
that's
is
the
really
case.
interesting. Like the whole Ollie Watkins argument, and I saw George and Alex talking about this, and they were saying about it, whether he is a win now player and the amount of minutes in his legs, and he hasn't played that long at the top. And it was funny because for me, I was looking, going, yeah, but the minutes that he played early in his career were at a horrible level where it's a lot more physical and you're getting kicked more. And I think, does that play more of a toll? Does it play of a less of a toll because you're probably not running as high distances, I guess? it's it's so interesting because you said it perfectly. It's context. I just think, I don't know. Like the Leroy Sane one for me, I don't mind him as a third attacker if we were able to get a third attacker this summer. But if you got him in, if you got a Sesko and a Sane, I would be a bit worried. I don't think Sane is. Is
It's
he is
interesting.
he an upgrade? He is in
It's
certain
so
respects
funny
to
that you said
Martinelli,
that because
but
I was literally on Twitter and straight away, Plattenberg yet again with his 400th update of the day it's saying that like Fenerbahce and Jose Mourinho are trying to get him for 15 mil salary euros per this year, and we are Arsenal is still an option. Tottenham are not in the race anymore, but I just don't see us paying that sort of money.
I just when we played them, he was great. Like he was doing things that I just thought to myself, I wish we had players doing that. Driving with a ball, taking shots, able to, have these moments. He caused quite a few problems, and I don't know. There's elements of it, and if you ask me when he was at City, it would be a no-brainer. You just go, yeah, my God. But context is everything, and I think he's never really hit the heights he should have. Number one, he's had injury problems, but on the flip side, like he's able to play as a right winger, a left winger. He's able to play in the 10. He has done at times. He's got certain attributes that we just don't have. But he's as a third player, cool. Oh, as a second,
Well,
maybe
that
that's asking
yeah,
for
with
trouble.
the wingers, I think there's like 3 or 4 wingers I would like as our first option, and then like all the others, I was like, yeah, second option. I think they
Okay,
they should come in with someone else.
Rodrigo's on that.
Yep,
I know you're hot on Leao. I wonder if he's in there. I guess he's got to be in there.
he's not in there.
Is he
He's not in
not?
there. Well, okay, wait, I wouldn't want him to come as a backup, and he wouldn't. But
Yeah.
I I just don't think I don't know. I just don't think it's realistic. It looks like he's going Bayern,
So
but
Nico
apparently,
Williams,
yeah, Williams is on there.
Semenyo,
Yeah, Smania's on there. I still like Smania.
and one more. Who's
It's a
the other
guy
one?
that I haven't really ever like spoke about that much, but obviously, like I know Canon podcasts are fans of him. But I spoke about him a bit.
My mind has gone completely blank. And I work with those guys every week doing all the thumbnails. That's so bad. Yeah.
He plays for a certain European champion.
Why has my mind gone blank? Why have I genuinely cannot think.
So, but I was
Oh,
gonna say,
Barcola. Oh my
yeah.
God.
To be
Oh,
fair,
I was
I
like,
always forget about
I was
Barcola
like,
because I just don't think
Kvaratskhelia? I
he's.
was like, what? Like, I don't think we're going to get him, mate. Oh, yeah, Barcola. That'd be the one.
I
Yeah.
just don't think Barcola's possible though. Like, so I've never really like considered him really that much.
He'd be a real exciting signing.
I
But,
still feel like he's quite raw as well though. Like, I don't know. I feel like compared to, I mean, they're all raw and they're all going to struggle, I think. But I think, like, I don't know. He's such a weird player for Arsenal in
mm,
many ways. I do think it'd
it,
be good though.
it's weird, though, isn't it? Like, you look at the signings that we can make, and the left wing and the striker are such important signings. They're the two signings that everyone's going to be looking forward to, which is so ironic because do you remember the episode where we went through, world class players throughout the title champions, and then we looked at like the kind of legendary teams of the Premier League. Number 6 kept on coming up, didn't it? Do you remember every single time it's like a world class six, world class six, world class six, and then we said, could Zubimendi be that for us? And I do wonder if that's a transfer that's going under the radar. Like I have concerns about the legs in the midfield. We talked about it earlier. I have concerns about the makeup with Odegaard having to move as a conventional 10. Um, but maybe that is the biggest signing. Um, and
Yeah,
I
I think it is.
think the club are going to have to almost play a PR game with this summer. It's a huge summer. It's a huge transfer window. And part of me thinks the Rodrigo links, and if we got him, I think a lot of the reasoning would be because that's the marquee signing, and Sesko coming in, it almost takes the pressure off of him. Any other winger we get, along with a Sesko, be it a Barcola, a Nico Williams, a Semenyo, or all of these players, you look and I think the pressure really, really sinks in. Then, like they have to hit the ground running. And for Arteta, I don't think he'll play Sesko like every single game. I just can't see it. I think Havertz will be used a lot more than people think. Um, yeah, it'll be a really. Is it? I'm not saying it's
It's
like just on PR. There's obviously very, very good things about getting in Rodrigo, but
it's so
it's a
weird, isn't it?
strategy.
Because Williams is a better fit for Sesko. Like he is naturally just like a better winger to help
Mm,
him, especially with his like crossing and like how he's like a deeper player than necessarily one that's like always in the box or outside it. Um, But it makes more sense to get Rodrigo in terms of the financial thing. I think that he's probably like I would pay 10 more mil for Rodrigo over Williams right now. I just would. And the
yeah.
wages, if the wages are like the same, I would rather pay that for Rodrigo because he is a little bit more proven. And it's just one of them situations where, like, if Rodrigo comes in, then he's going to cost a lot, and then we have to buy. In my opinion, we have to buy someone else. It has to be a left back, has to be a midfielder. I don't know something needs to work. I don't think a forwards would be done. Even if we did buy Sane, we just put him as a backup right winger. That at least gives me some sort of hope that there's some sort of like more players coming in.
Mm,
Um, but I do get as like isolated from himself, Rodrigo makes the most sense. But with all the other things going on, it's just a weird one because he's never been the perfect player. He's not my favorite player in the world, but I don't think any of the I think like 2 weeks ago I was like, no, we shouldn't spend the money on Rodrigo. But now I'm like, what other wingers can we actually get? Like Semenyo is good. Is he like good enough to start every game? Maybe not. He's still like not really at that level.
yeah.
Barcola is probably not going to leave. Williams is too expensive. And we don't even know if Rodrigo's going to leave because he might just say no and stay because of Shabby. But I highly doubt that considering he wants to play left wing. And I just cannot see him playing left wing ever.
Well, they
Um,
kind of more or less play like two tens, surely, aren't they? Like that's what I imagine. I guess like it'll be
yeah,
Bellingham
I
and
think that he might just do kind
Vinicius.
of. I think he's just going to do like a basic 4-4-4-3-3. I don't actually think that he's going to play his
Mm,
Bayer Leverkusen system at all. I don't know if he has the wing backs for that. I mean, they're going to get Trent in, and they got Kariasis in from Benfica, but I don't know how I feel about that defense working in that setup. And the whole reason it worked at Leverkusen is because everyone helped defensively in
yeah,
the block. And they're just not going to do that. We've seen what they're like. Like Mbappe, Vinny are just going to
complete opposite.
Rodrigo's going to try his best defensively, and then the other two are just going to run off, and it's just going to be like, what are they doing? Even Bellingham is not like brilliant in a block. He's not brilliant. He kind of is a bit too aggressive and makes some real big mistakes
Mm,
off the ball. But I do think Rodrigo, like from a defensive level, he helps. Like I looked at his stats earlier on my stream, but his like defensive touches this year in his own box and in his own final third they've almost doubled from the year before, and his touches in the attacking third have like gone down by like 150 from
Oh,
this year to last
really?
year. So he's clearly this year played more of a facilitator role, been way more like impactful with build up and defensive work. And like that at least shows to me that he can like do a job for the team if he needs to, but I wouldn't want him to do that all the time. Like we need to get back up there. So
Yeah, 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 100%.
I think that he would work.
It's really interesting, the left wing market, because I look and I was going to do like almost like a top 10 and try to rank um, based on the deal that I think we could get with the wages and the transfer and everything into context and do a top 10. And originally, so I made the list and then I couldn't do the video that night. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll leave it. I'll do it in a couple of days. And then I found myself changing the list. And then a couple of days went by and then I changed the list again. And it's really interesting because at one point I went, I just want Semenyo. And I think I said it on the pod. Like Semenyo for me, just shots, just he will release a shot. And he physically is so good at just driving with the ball. It's so hard to get it off him. I really like his profile. I love watching him. Absolutely love watching him. But I just don't think his ceiling's as high. So then I start looking and I go, oh, I like Barcola. And I look at him and think, oh, he really could be like a superstar. He could be someone that really takes off. And then we look back and say, that was this kind of generation's like Thierry Henry or whatever it may be. That was our player we bought. And no one really knew how high he was going to get and, took off. And then I look at Rodrigo and I think, oh, a player that's played at a big club. He's done things in the Champions League. He's able to play left wing. He's able to play right wing to very good standards. So give Saka like a bit of a lift or some relaxation time. Wouldn't that be nice? But I go through all these players like Leao. Like he's probably, if you're looking of pure attributes like height, pace, power, he's been a player of the year. He's had amazing times, but then he doesn't press, and then he's so on and off. So I'm constantly changing my mind, which is quite nice in a way, because I hope by the time we get a left winger, and we better get a left winger, I should be sat there thinking, okay, I understand why you've got them, and hopefully I can just kind of move on.
But
But it's just so bizarre.
It's the same with the strikers for me. Like, I think that's kind of been where I was at. Like, I was umming and ahhing. I mean, I didn't even consider Gyökeres until the Berta rumors came out. Really, I was always considering like Ekatike, Isak, Osimhen and
Mhm.
Šeško before that. But then obviously the Gyökeres rumors came out. It seemed like it was Sesko and Gyökeres being the main two. And I was like, I'm in an iron on who was actually be better and like what would be working. But I just kind of came to the conclusion that they both do different things for the team. And in order for them to succeed, there needs to be different things that happen. But like I've seen Joe Tomlinson say this a lot, where it's like realistically, we do put in perspective that Arsenal create a lot of chances,
Yeah.
not in every game. And I do think with a Rodrigo, with a Zubamendi, we are going to be much better against mid to low blocks, which is what we need. Because I know it's always that thing about physical mid blocks, but we haven't even been good against low blocks for the last 5, 6 months. There has been injuries, and that hasn't helped, but we have struggled just generally against teams that sit deep against us. And that will help that. So, and then Joe was just saying that, like, basically every single Arsenal player they play up front scores a decent amount of goals. Like,
Even
9
Marino,
goals.
like,
Yeah, Mourinho scored 7 goals. Like, Havertz scored 9 before he got injured, and even then, he was not even playing up front a lot of the time. Like,
yeah,
he's in centre mid, even though he's like on the pitch up front. So, just putting anyone there that can strike a ball would be the best thing. And I'm a bit of a Sesko fanboy. I've always loved Sesko. Like, he has been one of my favorite players for like 3 years now, like since FM23. He's been that guy. And the thing is, I was always thinking like Arsenal need a plan B. And I remember when Giroud was there, his plan B basically just became, we'll cross it like in the last 6 months of his Arsenal career before he went to Chelsea. We genuinely just used him as like that guy across the ball into heads in. Like we scored against United at Old Trafford and drew 1-1 because he came on and just scored that header from a Chamberlain cross. And I just think sometimes you need that in teams. And I look at Gyökeres and I'm like, will he bring that? No. Like Šeško is not only just young, but he is tall. He is going to win headers. He's just 6'5". You don't, and he is.
I think he might be taller than that, isn't he? I thought he was like, is he 6'7"?
He might be 6'5.5" or 6'6" or something like that.
Oh,
But
I'm wrong, yeah.
his leap is insane as well. Like he can get incredibly high. And yes, he's not the strongest player in the
6'5",
air right now. And there's definitely problems. But I don't have an issue of getting him. Like Havertz is not the most strong player. Like he's stronger in the air, but every time he gets his head on the ball, he just can't score. Šeško doesn't have that issue. If he has the issue of getting to the ball, but when he gets there, he will score loads. And like I really don't think that like that's going to impact our striker a lot. And I've seen people say, "Oh yeah, but the build-up's going to struggle. Or this is going to struggle." Well, one, we signed Zubimendi for that, which was the whole point. And realistically, we don't want our striker to be coming back into the midfield over and over again. That's why we're buying winger. That's why we're buying a centre mid. Like, okay, it'd be nice if Šeško can come back and help, of course, like to get us up the pitch and the wingers to go through. But that doesn't need to happen a lot. We need our strikers to get in the box and sit there and wait for the crosses to come in to score. And that's what I want from my striker at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So either way, I was happy with either of them.
I'm going to just bit of a shout out here. George Taylor, Datapod George, in the house. Mate, we need to get you on the pod at some point. Like, if any of you haven't, I think George as well, actually. I want to say this. I want to say George is like a Call of Duty man as well. So maybe George is someone that... George, let us know if you play FM. If you're still in the chat, let us know if you play FM, because we're looking about doing a data save. I feel like that might be the end of us, though, Reece. If George is in there, I feel like getting George in might be like a big mistake. But thank you for tuning in, mate. Yeah, it's such a bizarre... It's going to be a wicked summer. Like, this is one of the few summers I'm excited by. As an old man, I have PTSD when it comes to the Cronkies and Arsenal essentially just falling short in transfer windows or being, I don't know if frugal's the word, being stubborn and sometimes not just pushing the boat out in the way that we need them to. And I think this summer we have to push the boat out.
It's exciting. It's exciting.
It's like it's such a strange one. Like I genuinely don't know what we're going to end up with.
I love transfers so much. I don't know. It is just so fun. It's so fun for me as well because I watch these football players for no reason in just random days. And then I finally feel like I get to talk about random players around Europe because it's like, oh, look, they're interested. Not even just about Arsenal, like City and like Liverpool are big teams that buy cool players. And it's just so fun for me, like talking about these players all the time. Like I've been speaking to Arsenal fans all week and everyone's like, oh, it just like, even though I get some fans are disappointed because like things haven't necessarily happened yet, a lot of fans I speak to in real life are like, I'm so excited for this summer. It just seems so fun. And I was like, yeah, because we know that we have to spend. They've forced us into a situation where they've basically told us we are going to spend this summer, and they have to because they didn't spend as much as they should have last year. So we've literally got like, I don't know, like it's a win-win. It should be at least, hopefully.
Mate, I've got 3 questions for you now. All right.
3.
Guys in the chat as well. Let me know what you think. First question. Does this mini window count as another window Arsenal haven't bought?
Oh, everyone's going to be like, wow, we didn't buy anyone for free. And counted the 2 weeks before in June. I mean, I didn't even ever really consider that.
Is it another window? Come on. Hot take. Is it
I won't be counting it as one, but
okay.
know some Twitter people will be.
Yeah. Oh, Arsenal didn't buy anyone.
Yeah, it's gonna.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, we might sign Zubimendi before. I don't know.
I genuinely thought we would. I don't think we will now.
Well, it depends because, like, I think things will start moving a lot quicker when the Nations League's over because they're in the final and they play on Sunday. Because I know the Turkey deal is being delayed because of that as well. But they lost. But yeah.
Okay. Question 2. I've forgotten what it was now. Hold on. My mind's gone blank. I'm losing my memory, mate. Honestly, I couldn't get barcode out. No. Something else has happened. I'll come back to that one. Are the transfers in more important than the contract renewals of Saliba, Gabriel, Saka? What's more important? That we got all of those players that we mentioned earlier renewed, or we get in the kind of list so that number 2 goalkeeper, overlapping left back, or a midfielder with the ability to come out wide, a left winger, striker, and then Zubimendi we're hoping as well. Which
I
is
don't
more
know.
pivotal.
That's it. Like, I don't even know, man. That is such a hard question. I think when it comes to Saliba, I'm more nervous than any other player. Like, I just think it is very vital we get Saka and Martinelli on contracts, but I'm not in the sort of idea that they won't sign. I think even if you gave them 6 months left of their deal and they could talk to clubs, I don't think they would, because I just don't think they're the sort of people to do that. I mean, it depends. I mean, if we're 15th in 18 months' time, then maybe they will, but I just can't see that being their idea. In
Yeah.
Saliba's instance, I don't really want to lose the best young defender in the world. And I feel like there's
That's
a
not a
high
good look, is
possibility.
it?
And I feel like when it comes to some of the signings we're talking about, like overlap and left back, or maybe like backup centre back, which we didn't even spoke about, but that could be a consideration, which probably needs to happen.
Mm.
I think then I consider Saliba being more important. But from like a striker in left wing, I think getting them in is the most important thing that we do right now. Gabriel signing is absolutely calm. Like, I love Gabriel, but I did not ever expect him not to sign as well. I mean, maybe a lot of people like Saudi, a lot of people like maybe, but I never really get that. We don't know everything, but you can tell what a player's like by their mannerisms and how they act in interviews and stuff like that. And obviously, if anyone's watched Married to the Game, I like watch Gabriel in that, like as at home with his family. So I feel like when I watched that, I kind of felt like this guy understands what it means to be at this club. I don't think this guy's just going to leave unless he's forced to,
Yeah.
without winning a trophy, especially because he's, this is brought up today, but he's technically never won an actual trophy in his career. He won a couple of things for Zagreb, but he wasn't actually like playing. He just kind of got a medal. So he's never actually won anything in his career, and he's not going to probably win anything in Saudi Arabia that he cares about. So this is the club he has to do it at. So, you know, I think that, yeah, but I don't know. I don't think Gabriel thinks like that. I don't know. He doesn't seem the sort of guy that like he seems pretty happy in London with his family. So
I think he's got a new hairline, new set of teeth. That's enough for him. Do you know what I mean?
and
I genuinely mean that. I bet he's just happy with that.
And it's also a part of like his fiance lives here with him. His kid
Yeah.
lives here with him. They speak English and they speak Portuguese, and they've like grown up in England. Like she was, I think, born here and stuff, and she's like lived
Yeah.
here their whole life. Like they probably want to have that sort of familiarity. I mean, I kind of thought the same with Jorginho, which is kind of crazy. But Jorginho is a different situation. But like his family are all British. They're all British family, and he's just gone back to Brazil. But I
I
guess
thought he was going to stay on for a coaching role. I thought that would be the
yeah.
plan. It's been interesting, Jorginho going. Yeah, I thought Partey would leave for a myriad of reasons, and then Jorginho would probably stay and then finish out his contract and go into coaching. Maybe have like a year extension, but
Did you see?
I
Well,
don't know.
he got signed by Flamengo, and he asked for all the tactical insights of their team before he came. And I was like, this guy's literally just going to be a manager, and he like,
I can imagine him being really, because he's multilingual as well, isn't he? He's a very intelligent person.
I'm
I think he'll
considering
be a
like his,
brilliant person.
he's just so like Arsenal manager in 15 years, and he
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it'll be Arteta, then it'll be Fabregas, then it'll be Jorginho. We're just gonna have full Arsenal. That's
Jorginho will turn up at Napoli at some point, manager, and yeah, I just
yeah.
yeah. There's certain people you look at and you think, yeah,
Well, he didn't want to
you'll
be a
make it.
manager until he met Arteta, or like Arteta started managing Arsenal. That's what he said. He never really wanted to be one at Chelsea, and then he met Arteta, and then he just wanted to be one. But you can tell he has that like, mentality for it.
To be fair, you didn't want to be a YouTuber until you found out about Arteta, so it's,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
it's changing lives, changing lives.
Well, I'm not a YouTuber. I would have just done not
I
Arsenal
I
content,
didn't want to
something else.
walk dogs until he got Win, and that was it for me. I just went, you know what? I want to walk dogs. Um. Oh, I don't know. I think that the contracts is probably just about more important. I look at where the contracts are as well. So two of our centre backs, like the spine of our team, and I just think if you lost both of those, that's just I we've gone so long trying to find not even like just good centre backs of like high quality, but centre backs that complement each other as well. Like
Competence.
yeah,
No, I had one for
like
years. I
do you know
do
what I
think
mean? Like
centre
the
backs are
dross
like
we've
one
had.
of the hardest positions to buy in. Like I do think that is the worry. Like Gabriel now re-signing Saliba, but like with the Saka and Martinelli, I'm not too worried. Come through academy, we bought Martinelli at a young age.
Yeah.
Like I don't think they're gonna leave. Like, um, and even if Martinelli left, like I wouldn't be crying over it realistically. Even if it is for no money, it is what it is. Right now. But like with like Gabriel and Saliba, like we don't really want to leave them. Like who would we even replace Saliba with? Like we don't know what the market's gonna look like. Dean Howson, I mean, yeah, he was at Juve, but never really got played. And then
Mhm.
out of nowhere, he's like this good, and now he's at Real. But I talk about other teams, and I was talking to some Tottenham fans. I was like, "Oh, who do you guys think that you should get in? Because it looks like Romero's going to leave now, and just gone. That 100% looks like he's going to Atleti, and it's been the rumours for a while." And they were like, "Oh, maybe like Inner Sal from Sporting." And I was like, "Do you watch Inner Sal? He is
That's an
not very good."
interesting, interesting take.
And he's a left-sided player, and Romero plays on the right, but he's just like not physical at all. Like, and I'm like, I just think that like I used to have this. I went before I got into like proper analysis and like actually sat there and watched games and made videos on them. I
What
remember at the start,
Udinese in 2011?
I remember when I did some analysis on like Diamonde for Sporting, and I really liked Diamonde. And he's a guy that has these big moments where you're like, oh, he's that aggressive nature like Gabriel, he can come out. But then when you actually watch him in games, you're like, he's overly aggressive, he has awful timings, he just hasn't learned when to just be
Yeah.
calm. He's always so on and like just gives away. I mean, that penny gave away against us. It's like, what is he doing? And I'm like, I look at that and I go, you had potential and you have that level, but it's just like not there. And like
Mm.
you are at the age where I would expect a centre back like that is not going to come into an Arsenal or a Tottenham and be good. They just
No,
struggle even
no.
more.
Oh, you could. Yeah, he couldn't. Which actually I think speaks volumes about maybe Kivior. I think he
Yeah.
has been underrated. That he rarely plays in his actual natural position until like this season and Gabriel being out. Like
And he's
thrown
been
in at left
great.
back,
Like, and he's
right
a
centre
diamond in the
back, and
rough. We bought him from Spezia. Spezia like never
mm,
have any good players. Like they had did they have Luca there, or was it Luca at Pisa? I don't know. I don't think they
I
had
can't
Luca, but
remember.
Luca's career hasn't really gone to plan. But they had like Richie there. I think one of them. There's like three of them. But I think yeah, one of them there. For a bit, but that's it. They've never really had any good players, and we found him diamond in the rough, 20 mil, and he's good. I like Kivior. I don't think he should be sold. I think the whole notion of like,
Oh,
oh, sell him because he's worth a bit now. But like, do we trust the club to buy anyone
mate, I
good?
just flip if we're in charge, flip a coin. That's what I'm doing. I'm just doing
Like
a
people
flip a
just think
coin.
we can get rid of Kivior and then buy in Hatto, but Hatto's linked to Chelsea. Hatto's going to cost 50 mil, and Hatto's way younger. Like he is like a lot more. It's going to be a lot more harder for him to come in as a squad player role as someone who's not experienced. He's literally a
Yeah.
child, as much as he has played a lot. And I just go, that is just not, in my opinion, that is wasting 30 mil or 20 mil on something we just don't need. I think Kivior's absolutely fine to be a backup, like as a left centre. We arguably need a Kivior for the right centre back role that plays a bit like
Yeah.
Gabriel. And then we'd be absolutely fine defensively. If Saliba and Gabriel got injured and we played Saliba and Kivior or Kivior and like this, or like Gabriel and another new defender, I think we'd be fine
Can
in so many
Mascara
games.
come in? Is that one that?
I like Mascara, and like I don't know what Villa are doing because Villa are a weird team, and they were linked to him. They were linked to Nipan, and I don't know what Nipan's now doing.
Yeah, that's
Apparently,
gone off the boil.
yeah. Well, we gonna go back in for him? I'd still take him because he's right-footed, and we need right-footers.
Yep.
But this Mascara, I wanted Jeremy Jacquet, but he signed a new deal with Rennes, which is really annoying. But there's so many good young defenders out there that we could just get one in, and that's why I do think that needs to happen as well. But that could be like a 40K a week. I mean, Kivior's not on a lot of money, is he? He's on like 80K a week or
Yeah,
something.
he's not much.
That is literally nothing for someone that played like the
Let's bring
last
it up.
4 months for their club. Like Tommy Yasu's on over 100K a week, and I love Tommy Yasu. I think he's great when he's fit. Just hasn't been fit in a very long time, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Look, he's
58 grand.
right down the bottom. I mean, look at that. Timbers on 90K a week. Let's just go to the Dutch league and get everyone. Let's get
Just get everyone.
let's just get Gertruda. Let's get Gertruda in. He's all right.
Yeah, I'd take that.
Let's get the other Timber brother. He can play in midfield. Get him
He's
in.
actually not bad. It's like
He's
that's
a
the
good player. I
thing.
like Timber.
It's so interesting when you're looking at it in this format. You know, we talk about wages quite a lot, and I know you do the same. We talk about deals quite a lot in terms of transfer fee and wages. I think that goes out the window with a lot of people. Everyone looks at the transfer fee. Isn't it bizarre that you've got Jakub Kivior so far down compared to the next list, and then Timber and David Raya, who are, I mean, David Raya now he's one of the top keepers in Europe. I don't know if you could say he's world class. He's one of the top keepers in Europe. Jurrien Timber is one of the top right backs in Europe now. And they're both below, or like, you know, similar to Tomiyasu, who never plays. They're below Kieran Tierney. Even Ricardo Calafiori, 120,000. You know, for a real young player.
Absolutely fine, yeah. Like,
it's so
and you look at some of the fees that we pay for some of these players are a bit different. Like, we spent 16 mil on Tomiyasu, and he was on I think he was on 60k, and then he got that pay increase because he played really well and did deserve it. But we paid not a lot for him, so we didn't care about giving him that extra money because he earned it. And if Raya wanted a new contract and wanted more money, I'd be like, fair enough, yeah, he deserves it. Trossard on 90k a week as a backup player who has played a lot, that is good money. That's a good deal overall. The whole deal for Trossard has been an excellent deal, I think. That we've just got to do more of. I just love these sort of deals. So this is the thing. This is why when I didn't talk about him today, but Igor Paxial from the Dutch league. If we wanted to get him, I don't think he's excellent. I think he has problems. But if you wanted to get him, I'm sure he's not on a lot of money. He plays in the Dutch league, and he could just come in as a backup. Are they going to ask for that much money? We're not United, probably not. Gakpo was the best player in the Dutch league by an absolute mile when he was there, and they got him for 30 mil, Liverpool. You could get Paxial for 25, 30 mil. That's not, but that is smart planning for the future. And you get rid of Trossard because he is 30. And that makes a lot of sense to me. I think that's when this transfer window is going to get so interesting because the wages are very important. And I think they will get to a certain level. Are we going to bring a Rodrigo in and a Šeško in? I don't know what wages Šeško's in are going to be, but I guess 200, I would assume around there. And Rodrigo, you have to think would probably be around.
Isn't that mad when you're looking at Gabriel and we're talking between 150 and 200? And it's new.
But it's that thing. It's just one. It's just just the market, isn't it? If there's more want for them sort of players, it's going to cost more.
Yeah.
And it's sort of potential thing as well. But when we get Šeško and Rodrigo, that's probably going to be 500k. I have no issue with paying Rodrigo upwards 270, 280.
I think he's 240 at the moment.
If we gave him 260, 270, I wouldn't hate that. I think that's the money you have to pay these players to come in. We had to pay a lot of money for Ozil, a lot of money for Sanchez, at the time, because they are at these big clubs, and even if their situation isn't the best there, it's still going to cost a lot because there's a lot of teams interested. Chelsea want Rodrigo as well. Wow, who thought that? So I think that we should just buy defenders wise. I think it's the same with the left back we're talking about, an overlapping left back. We don't need to pay loads of money for wages. 25 mil, you can probably pay for a fee for some of them, or 30.
Yep.
I would rather pay extra fee and then less wages if that is going to be the case there. And then I think that's fine. But defenders always just cost less, wages wise, and that's fine.
I mean, let's quickly have a look. I'll bring this up. So this is City's one. So for Man City, and this is sometimes put it into context for people. Erling Haaland is on 525. Kevin De Bruyne
2034.
Kevin De Bruyne 400. Jack Grealish 300. Bernardo 300. Marmoush 295. He's around 300. So I know that Saka, Saliba will be demanding around that kind of 300 mark, and rightly so. But I just think in the grand scheme of things, we don't compete in the same way. You look at the squad players for Man City. If I go down here, I mean, the Savio one that's criminal. 40 grand.
Wow, I wonder how they got that to happen.
Yeah, and this is the problem, isn't it? When you go, some dabbling there somehow, but there we go. We'll talk about that another time. But Nunes coming in as 130. I don't know.
they have the same thing with our squad. If you go down to the bottom, most of their new signings, other than Marmoush, are there. Like Vitor Reece, 40k. Like
Yeah.
Kushinov is only on 20k a week. Like, but they spent 50 mil almost on Kushinov as a signing because it's like an expensive deal for the club. But he's not on a lot of money because you know ultimately he's going from Lyon to Man City. He wants to do that. It's a big moment for him, so he'll be happy to go on that wages. Getting youngsters in, like especially defensively, the fee might cost a lot, but the value of the transfer is not as much. So I'm not too worried. And I do think like some of these players are overpaid, and sometimes you're going to overpay players that don't necessarily work. Like someone like a Jack Grealish just hasn't particularly worked at City, and they spent a lot of money on that deal overall. Um, but like some of these players, like Marmoush, 295k a week, like that's a lot of money. I know he was good at Frankfurt, but there is certain like ways he wouldn't work, and he's still not like excellent in everything. He's a really good ball striker, and good movements and stuff. But he is one of them players that they had to spend a lot of money on in January from a team that have ambitions like Frankfurt, who got to the Champions League yet again. And
Yeah.
you have to pay these sort of wages. Like Etikike, if he leaves this summer and it looks like he's going to go to a Chelsea, but he's waiting for Liverpool, if that does happen for around 95 mil, or whatever the price is, that's going to cost around 200, 250k a week. Is he a player that deserves that much? No, but that's how it works with the market. And I think when it comes to people like Sane, I don't want Arsenal to pay 300k a week for Sane because he's just not a starter. But 300k a week for Rodrigo and a 200k a week for Sheshko is absolutely fine because they are a necessity that we get in. So it's
Still
like,
less than Haaland.
I mean, I don't think anyone's getting. He's on a 9-year contract. No one's ever getting anywhere near Haaland. I mean, he must have all the mod packs on Minecraft. That's crazy.
But people will remind you that they hardly paid any money for him when they bought him. And it's just like, and that's what drives me insane. You have to look at these deals in totality, not just and that's the other thing. When people talk sometimes about a deal being, I don't know, 100 million, and then you go, well, they've actually paid 40 million up front, and then there's 60 million in bonuses. So we might never ever get that. It'd be nice sometimes if there was a bit more context around these deals. And
People never put like when it comes to add-ons, people will be so quick to be like, no, actually it's 50 mil and we're not paying the rest till later. But then when you talk about it 3 years later, they will never talk about that added price. Oh no, it's 50 mil. In some aspects, it makes sense. Like when Martial joined Man United, he had clauses in there like we'll get 10 mil for winning the Ballon d'Or.
Ballon
Yeah, that's
d'Or, yeah.
dumb. Yeah, he's never going to win the Ballon. I like Martial when he was at Monaco, but he's never going to win the Ballon d'Or, unfortunately for him. So they never got that. But there's a lot of clauses that are very realistic for a lot of teams. So it's just like, oh, play 50 games. And like I swear Mudryk, I think Mudryk has a couple of crazy ones in there, but I'm pretty sure it's like 10 mil to play 50 games. I think he did that. Like, so that is gone up. And like Hoyland, like, okay, yeah, you spent only 50 mil up front or 46 mil up front, but the add-ons will go up to 70 mil. Atalanta aren't stupid. And you're paying all this money for a player that half the time isn't even going to be at your club and you might be paying for him still. Yeah, and I just think it's the same thing. Like, it's the same thing when people do the whole loan thing as well. Like I remember when Tottenham got Romero on loan for 50, they got him on loan from Atalanta, and all the Tottenham fans were like, no, it doesn't count as a sign, and we got him on loan, like no fee. And then the next year, technically, you signed for 50 mil. Oh yeah, but that was last summer. It's like, no, that's not how it works. You signed him for 50 mil. Like he came in for 50 mil at some point. Like it's the same with us and Raya. Like I don't think anyone did not consider Raya as a sign. Like he is a signing technically from last summer, but everyone kind of considers it the summer before because we knew that like that was happening. And that is like that is the thing.
That's the type of deal that Arsenal needs to be looking at and actually going, right, how can we get around? Because we've just got to be smarter. I think that was something that maybe we should have done with Kudus and then looked into. I don't know if it was ever a possibility, but for the price that he went for, and then the price that was mooted like a year later from West Ham, you look at deals like that and think, oh, you've almost hamstrung yourself sometimes. Like that type of thing. The third attacker, that's something that we should be looking at. Can we get someone in on loan and offset that payment to the next financial year? Can we do that? I would love it if we could, but
And the fees are just going to be expensive. Like I am quite critical of like the finances of the club, and I know some people's perspective is like, oh, it's not our money, but I don't really think like that, because if you want the club to do well in the future, and then you cry about there being no signings, we have to take in the fact that these players that we might like pay too much for is going to be an impact of that. Sometimes you have to overpay, and I think even for Sesko, is he worth the 60, 70 mil that is rumored? Probably. Well, I mean, realistically, Isak went for 75 mil, and at the same sort of age. Like, so you can argue that it's probably market value, but it's still probably an overpay for what we're going to get. We're not going to get a 70 mil player for the next 2 seasons,
Yeah.
but you're not buying it just for that. It's about potential. It's about loads of things. I mean, I'm looking right now on my PC that Brighton are in talks with that Greek guy we were talking about earlier.
Of course
80,
they are.
not the Olympiacos guy, the striker.
Yeah.
He's 18. The deal's going to be 47 million euros. Like, that is just the price it costs now. He is in, very well, he plays in the Greek league and he's a teenager, and they have to pay 40 million pounds to get him in. That is just the amount of money you have to pay nowadays. And I know Arsenal have done well to get like a Marino in for cheaper. Calafiori was kind of under market value at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Rye was definitely, like, he's way more worth than that. He's worth a lot more than 30 mil to us, and I think that's important.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like that sometimes that isn't going to work, and we have to overpay. Like, if it is 75, 80 mil for Rodrigo, 300k a week, then it's got to be done, because we've put ourselves in this position where we have to make these signings. So.
Yeah, I completely agree, mate. Another, I mean, bonkers pod, here, there, everywhere. The best start to a stream ever. With us just chatting over the top of the stream coming out, going, which button is it? Which one do we do? Are we going live next week? Are we going live next week? We're doing pre-recorded? What do you reckon?
We can go live. I don't mind.
We can go live, yeah. Let's start going live every week. Let's start it.
But we have to stick to a day, though. We can't like be like.
To be fair, it has been every Thursday, hasn't it? But then I went away on holiday. No, there was a good reason I couldn't do yesterday, to be fair. I won't go into details. Yeah, if we stick to...
Also, there might be competition on Thursdays, though. Yeah, just another podcast.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Reece.
Another podcast that goes on at this time. I don't know.
Do you know what? Thursdays, that is a good point. Because on a Thursday, I come home and I come home from work, I sit down, and the same thing happens every week. An alarm goes off my phone, and it actually says TDK meme, because originally I used to make memes just about the different knock, and then they've gone to the Canon podcast, so it's very confusing. So an alarm for something completely random goes off, essentially, and then I have a panic attack going, I've got to make a thumbnail. Like, oh no, I don't. And I have to text Alex, and I love you, Alex. Love you, mate. But you never tell me early. So I'm like, oh God, okay, that's what we're doing. And it's almost, like Countdown Conundrum, when the like music comes up, and then you can tell they're like under stress. That's me. And I'm sweating away trying to make a thumbnail. So like this week, trying to make Rodrigo into Superman was on my phone, may I add. That was horrendous. So yeah, maybe doing it on Thursday is not the best idea, because I have to make the thumbnail. Then I listen to the beginning of them, and then I have to jump on here. So if we can do a Friday out, can we do a Friday? Does that work? Friday at 8?
Yep.
Right.
Not probably every week, but most weeks, like 99%.
Oh, see, you've already ruined it, mate. We've just
I'm
organised a Friday at 8.
I might go out one night, but usually we go out on Saturdays. So.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I'm not allowed out unless my carer takes me. It's usually just for a quick walk around the park and back in, sit me in front of the TV again.
Well, I stream on Fridays in the day, so we just could.
All right, I know you're streaming. You mentioned it.
No, we join it in the day. Like we do. This is the night. We could do. I actually think Friday's probably a better day. I think we should do transfer news a lot as well.
Yeah. I'm up for that. Okay.
Because we don't talk about transfers at all, at all.
No, we never talk about that.
No, not this episode. No, we haven't spoken about it a lot. It's so hard not to talk about it, though. It is so hard.
It's. I mean, this is the first transfer window of the summer, so it's.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, why is there 2?
You said there's two. You've admitted there's
No,
two.
but like,
And
but like,
Arsenal have not bought a player
why
in
is
another
there
window.
one? But why does it shut and then reopen? Why didn't they just say, "Oh, if you're in the Club World Cup, you can buy players, but they can't play for the event"?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand why there has to be this
Can
whole
I say as well, Liverpool getting 10 mil for a player who's out of contract is bonkers. Like how they have wangled like 10 it's how do they do it? You know, I just
These
I
clubs just
can't
do what
get
they're
my
doing. They just get money. They get money. We're like anti-money. We hate it. We're like, oh, we're not going to accept 28 mil for Eddie. We'll wait 3 months to get 30, which it worked out, which actually did work out, but it hasn't worked out with every other player we've tried to do it for.
No, and
So
thanks Just Tom for saying I need a contract renewal with the Canon podcast and a bumper pay. I will take that. Do you know what? I'll screenshot
is that
this.
more is that more important than new signings? For this new contract. Get it?
Can you
Make it
imagine me
happen.
saying that? Like,
We'll
I'm
start a
sorry.
hashtag.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good shout. Mate, honestly, always a pleasure. I love these pods. They get better week in, week out. Although we had no slideshow this week, which is a bit disappointing.
That's because we're streamers now, though. That's
Yeah, we just do it on the fly. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. So, I didn't even know what we were talking about, and we've just figured it out.
If you haven't, please like and subscribe to this channel. Go on Wackle's channel. He doesn't need the subscribers. He's got plenty. He is live streaming, though. He might not have mentioned this. He is live streaming now every Friday. Any sudden news, he is there when the rest of us are.
If I'm awake. Depends on well, because the Caritas news happened at 1 a.m.
You don't have to explain yourself. It's all right.
But
your
like,
job is YouTube, and you sleep during the day. It's fine.
I want to get the Caritas news. Like you were probably like in bed like a normal person, and you probably
I
woke
go to
up
bed at 7. 7 to 7. That's what I sleep. 7 till 7.
7 to 7. That's a long sleep.
Yeah, I know.
Sleep a long time.
I get tucked in bed and I just turn out the lights for me. Night. Okay. That's what happens.
I actually have a normal sleeping pattern right now, so it's actually okay. Like 3 a.m. bedtime.
That's not normal. That's not normal.
It's relatively normal for what I've had. I used to wake up at 10 p.m.
I love the way we're meant to stop. We're meant to stop the stream.
We're still streaming.
But it has made me laugh because genuinely, so this is honest truth. Reece was streaming earlier and it was like at about 5 o'clock. And I actually said to myself, geez, Reece is awake. Yeah, that's bad. It's 5 p.m. I'd finished work. I was like, is anyone live? Oh, Reece is live.
Now it's the summer, it's okay. But like when Arsenal play at 8 p.m, I've got to be waking up at 8 p.m. You see, that's got to be the schedule.
That's horrendous. That's horrendous. As I said, like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell, the notification bell below. Check us out on X. We've got threads coming out. We've got all the news for both the YouTube channels, from the different knock I like to put out, from anything for the Canon podcast. If you haven't done so as well, check out the Canon podcast Discord that I run along with Roshi. And I mean, it is quality. It's a great little community over there. And just make sure you hit us 8 o'clock next Friday, live. I've said it. You're held to it now, Reece. Live. And we'll catch you next week. Cheers now, guys. And it's never going to end.